Chapter 798. Two beacons of smoke rose from the beacon towers near Pengzhou Pass. Feng Chongyan did not dare to delay. He ordered people to light the beacons and sent people to check on Jin Chuan. There was one beacon tower every 30 li, and the distance was arranged according to visibility. From the time the beacon in Jin Chuan was lit to when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan received the letter from the pigeons in Jili Prefecture, it only took 11 hours. Most of the time was wasted on the pigeons flying. There was not much content in the letter. It just said that there were two beacons of smoke coming from Jin Chuan. It asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to consider what to do. Two beacons of smoke, not the beacons of safety. Seems that there is some trouble over there. Is it Tubo or Tujue? Zhang Xiaobao understood the meaning of the two beacons of smoke. There was a line in Du Fu's poem, "Lone smoke rises in the desert." This did not only express desolation, but also a sense of peace in a distant place. One beacon fire was for peace. Two beacon fires were for a situation. Three beacon fires were for war. Of course, there were many details in the letter. For example, the length of time the beacon fires burned, the time when the beacon fires were lit, and so on. There were many explanations. Otherwise, they would not know that the news came from Jin Chuan. Wang Wan also appeared to be a little anxious. The speed at which the news was transmitted was fast, but that was from other places to the capital, not from the capital to other places. Furthermore, the news was not very specific. No one knew what exactly happened at Jin Chuan. Looking at Xiaobei and the others who were still playing games with the newly arrived guards of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, Wang Wan looked to the west and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Let's see what is going on first. Don't be afraid. There are more than 100,000 slaves over there. Even if they want to attack, they will not be able to do it in a short time. Could it be that the Tubo's life is getting more and more difficult, and they finally can't help but fight to the death? If that's the case, we'll have to go again. Jin Chuan's army can't be commanded by anyone else. If someone takes a fancy to it and reports it to the imperial court, they should be moved to the Great Tang." Zhang Xiaobao nodded to show that he understood. Although they had been helping Li Longji and had a good relationship with each other, that was only possible because the two of them could restrain Li Longji at any time. If Li Longji was in a bad mood one day, or if he suddenly decided to deal with the two families, Lu Zhou and Jin Chuan would have to act together. After all, military power was the right to speak. As if sensing that her brother and sister were not in a good mood, Xiaobei, who was competing with the guards of the Zhang family and Wang family to see who could catch the most good things in the sea, suddenly stopped and hurriedly swam to the shore. She blinked her big eyes and approached Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. "Are you going back to the manor? Then you can come back to play in the future. It's fine. I can still continue to train the guards when I go back. I caught a lot of spoonworms. I'll fry them when I get back." Originally, they were going to stay for at least 3 days. If they were going to leave, they would only stay for 2 days. For children, playing for a while was a kind of happiness, let alone playing for a day. Xiaobei was very sensible and resisted the idea of continuing to play. She had long been used to running around with her family. Zhang Xiaobao touched his sister's forehead and tucked back the hair sticking out of the swimming cap on his face. He said to Xiaobei, "We're not going back. The matters in Jinchuan are the same as in Yizhou. It's the same here as in the manor." "Then I'll go play." Is there going to be a war? Bring me along. I'm very powerful. Even Xiao Yuan is afraid of my tripping rope." Xiaobei's heart settled back down. After saying this, she ran back into the water. When the water reached her thighs, she dove in with a splash and swam towards the place where the children were gathered. Seeing Xiaobei swim back, Zhang Xiaobao revealed a smile. "Don't let the adults' matters affect the children. Let Shui Yun go and take a look. If necessary, beat them again." "That's fine. Someone go and find Zhang Ying." Wang Wan ordered someone standing not far away. Zhang Ying followed them and searched for eagles by the seaside. Zhang Hu left with 1,000 soldiers to explore the road to North America. He brought along a lot of dogs. After a while, Zhang Ying arrived in front of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Let Shui Yun go to Jinchuan and ask what happened there. Bring back the news. Zhang Xiaobao pointed at Shui Yun, who was still soaring in the clouds, and said to Zhang Ying. After a whistle, Shui Yun spread her wings and landed on Zhang Ying's arm. She shook her head, giving people a feeling of puzzlement. Zhang Ying ordered someone to bring a pattern with the characteristics of Jinchuan. Zhang Ying made a few gestures to Shui Yun. Shui Yun's gaze fell on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. She blinked her eyes and looked to the west. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly had a strange feeling. Shui Yun knew how far Jinchuan was from Jili State and didn't want to go. Someone go and kill a cow. Zhang Xiaobao said to the person next to him. The family's servants immediately went to the nearest place to find a cow, killed it, and dragged it back, dripping with blood. Zhang Xiaobao personally cut a few pieces of beef and fed them to Shui Yun one by one. He didn't care whether Shui Yun could understand or not. He said to her, "Go. You can still eat beef when you get there. When you come back, I'll kill another one for you. It's a little far, but this mission is difficult and honorable. No one can do it except you." Zhang Ying also touched Shui Yun's neck with heartache. The distance from Jili State to Jinchuan was not ordinary. But they had to go. They could only wait for Shui Yun to come back and nourish her body. Shui Yun seemed to know that she had to go on an errand. She tried to eat the beef so that she could store more energy to support the flight. When she really couldn't eat anymore, Wang Wan had finished writing the letter. She put it in a bamboo tube and tied it to Shui Yun. Shui Yun rubbed her head against Zhang Ying's face intimately. Following the movement of Zhang Ying's arm, she soared into the air and circled in the sky. She let out a cry and flew to the west. It would be great if all eagles could be like Shui Yun. I hope she won't encounter any danger on the way. Let's barbecue beef tonight. Zhang Xiaobao sighed as he watched Shui Yun turn into a black dot and disappear into the sky. At the same time, Zhang Ying retracted his gaze and comforted Zhang Xiaobao. Don't worry, little young master. Shui Yun is very smart. If she gets hungry on the way, she will find animals that are easy to catch to eat. She won't lose the letter. I also want to find more eagles like Shui Yun. Unfortunately, I've caught many eagles, but none of them can reach Shui Yun's level. Just like the big dog that the little lady brought back from Luzhou. It's almost psychic. Little young master, little lady, is something wrong with Jinchuan? Zhang Ying didn't read the letter, so he didn't know the specific situation. The two beacons are busy dealing with the matters here. The surrounding commander-in-chief manors are restless. If something really happened to Jinchuan, I'll discuss it with the people around me and go with Cuckoo. This time, I won't be surnamed Zhang if I don't make them obedient. Zhang Xiaobao explained to Zhang Ying. The most annoying thing for him was that he couldn't take care of both the front and the back. If Jinchuan's army didn't care, he could ask the imperial court to send a general to command it. Currently, there were a few powerful people who were good at war. Wang Wan was also furious. After Zhang Ying left to rest, she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, if something really happened to Jinchuan, let Sun Rinnegan take the people and hide. We can't go there for the time being. I have to deal with the surrounding matters first." "How are you going to deal with it?" Zhang Xiaobao truly didn't think that Wang Wan had other plans. "I'm not telling you. There are many things that you don't tell me. Go guess. I'm going to swim." Wang Wan threw down these words, took off her outer clothes, and jumped into the sea in her swimsuit. "Fine, I won't tell you. I rushed over here this morning because I had a good plan to share with someone. Let's see who can stand it. I'm going to swim as well." Zhang Xiaobao muttered to himself and jumped into the sea as well. Compared to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who only found it troublesome, some people were in a bad mood because of the fire beacon incident. When the news came, Li Longji was in the morning court discussing state affairs with the officials. One was to continue opening the Great Tang Bank all over the Great Tang, and the other was to discuss the issue of the conscripts. The conscripts in Jili province could be said to have succeeded. The 30,000 soldiers who had been scattered throughout the various armies no longer had to eat just wine and meat like they had in the beginning. The soldiers didn't say anything. As long as their families had a good life, they had no reason to cause trouble. This kind of success gave Li Longji hope. He wanted to find another place to try again. Just as he was arguing with the officials, the fire beacon incident in Jinzhou came. He temporarily put aside other matters and began to guess what was going on. Who would dare to attack Jinchuan? Even after the morning court session ended, it was still not confirmed. After returning to Xingqing Palace, Li Longji was not happy when he heard that the construction of the artificial unsinkable lake was about to be completed. Li Shi, do you think that Tubo is taking the risk? Li Longji, who had drunk 2 bowls of iced sour plum soup, still felt like his heart was on fire. He asked Gao Lishir, who was waiting on him. How could Gao Lishir guess? He was even more anxious than Li Longji. On one hand he was worried about the great Tang, but on the other hand he was worried about Xiao Bao. Jinchuan was not under the jurisdiction of the great Tang. Although the great Tang had offered many local specialties this year, with the majority being desert sistanch, if the great Tang really did send people to occupy it, regardless of whether Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would agree or not, Tubo would not agree. If that happened, they would really have to hand over their territory to the great Tang. The east of Jinchuan currently belonged to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. That was just an excuse for the caravan. If the great Tang sent people to manage it, it would be a matter between countries. As Gao Lishir thought about it, his eyes hurt, as if the pain had reached his head. He massaged his temples and replied to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, it's just 2 plumes of smoke. Perhaps the people of Jinchuan saw wrongly and thought that someone was going to attack them. This subject thinks that Tubo currently relies on the great Tang to exchange food for them, and does not dare to make any rash moves. Although the Turks are also in the desert, they can't care too much. Your Majesty does not need to worry. The news should have already been sent to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. The 2 of them should have already made their decision. Once Jili province sends a letter, we will naturally know everything." Even Gao Lishir himself didn't believe his own words. The Tubo and Turks were wolves that couldn't be tamed. As long as they were given a chance, they would definitely grasp it. Otherwise, there was no need for them to continue sending troops to guard the borders. Li Longji also knew that Gao Lishir was comforting him. At this time, the only thing he could do was to believe his words, even if it was hard to be certain. Send a letter to Xiao Bao and ask him what his plans are. Li Longji could not wait any longer. Shui Yun tried its best to fly, wanting to reach the place as soon as possible. It could feel the anxiety of its master. Even if it knew that the journey was long, it still wanted to complete the mission. The blue sky and white clouds accompanied each other. A light breeze blew and it spread its wings. Every time it flapped, it had to travel a long distance. In the place Shui Yun was determined to reach, quite a few people were busying themselves, setting up temporary camps to guard against others. Zhang Yuzhu tried his best to press a rope woven from straw on the sand according to a diamond pattern. He also placed the seeds of the Haloxylon amandendron tree in the middle, and carefully watered them with water from a bucket pushed over from a distant lake. When the Haloxylon amandendron tree grew, it was possible to find desert sistanch in it to repay the master. This method was taught by the master's young master and young lady. As long as one could collect 10 caddies of desert sistanch in a year, he would have a good life and would receive a lot of extra rewards. One had to know how to be content. Even if there were no rewards, one had to do a good job for the master. One's family name followed the master, and a stable life was also given by the master. Just as young Master Han said, one would only know what happiness was when there was a comparison. When some people were sad because they did not have shoes to wear, they would find that some people did not have feet. He had to cherish the days he had now. Even if the duo people who came the day before yesterday were eyeing him covetously, he was not afraid. If they really dared to attack, he would fight them to the death. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuzhu worked even harder. He seriously planted every seed, hoping that it would sprout and grow up. Looking at the guards from the master's house, Zhang Yuzhu was even more afraid. Compared to Zhang Yuzhu, Sunrignigan was in a very bad mood. The group of duo people in the distance did not plan to leave since the day before yesterday. They looked like they were going to stay here permanently and built a temporary camp by the lake. More than 500 people did not come to harass them, but they did not leave either. If they wanted to keep 500 people here, it would be too easy. There were more than 100,000 people. Just the number of soldiers alone reached 20,000. 40 against 1. One person could strangle the other party to death with a pinch. Sunrignigan was not worried about the 500 people, but what was behind them? There were also duo people in the Great Tang, so it was not strange. What was strange was that if they came to the lake in the desert, were they not worried that they would starve to death after eating the food they brought? When things were abnormal, there was bound to be a demon. Thinking of this, Sunrignigan said to Han Xianfeng, who was also looking at the duo people with clairvoyance, "Young Master Han, do you think that the arrival of the duo people could be secretly supported by the Turks or Tibetans?" They are from two places. That can't be, right? Han Xianfeng could not be sure. The only thing he could be sure of was that the duo people who stayed by the lake did not come with good intentions. Mi Fan was already feeling uncomfortable. Ever since the duo people arrived, Mi Fan had not been able to eat. What kind of ability did Mi Fan have? It was very mysterious, and there was no way to explain it. However, it was this kind of existence that Mi Fan had never been wrong about since she had known it. Looking at it this way, the 500 duo people were the root cause. Let alone Han Xianfeng, who was unwilling to believe that the duo people had the support of the Turks or Tibetans. Even Sunrignigan, who said this, did not believe it to be true. But based on the intelligence reports they had gathered, both the Turks and the Tibetans had such a possibility. While the Turks were internally unstable, ever since the Great Tang's Emperor Feng Chan had dispatched soldiers to guard the border, the Turks had begun to shift their focus to the desert. Although Tibetans were lacking in food and had an unequal exchange with the Great Tang, the people who could eat large amounts of food were not slaves. The slaves only ate a small portion of the food. Taking advantage of the arrival of spring, they went to the mountains to dig up wild vegetables to replenish their food. There were also people who caught all kinds of insects to eat, especially locusts. On one hand, this could control the locust plague this year. On the other hand, a portion of the food saved could be used on real soldiers and a portion could be stored for future use. Even a ghost would not believe that these two places did not have any ulterior motives. Young Master Han, if I were the leader of the Turks or Tibetans, I would support the duo people and secretly provide them with all kinds of intelligence and food supplies. I would let them understand the price of desert sistanch between the clouds and the water after it is made into a dish. The desert sistanch here does not look expensive, but it is not cheap either. If you pick 10 caddies of desert sistanch, you can get 10 strings of cash as a reward. 10 strings of cash is enough to feed 10 pigs for a year according to the current price of food. It can even be used to make a few sets of clothes for the pigs. But if you send it to between the clouds and the water and make it into a dish and sell it, it will be dozens or even hundreds of times the price. The nobles in the capital of the Great Tang are proud to be able to eat this dish. Let the polyeater understand and then fight with us. Once a fight breaks out, there will be even more polyeater participating. Both the Tubo and the Turks can just watch from the sidelines. This is called killing with a borrowed knife. Young Master Han, you must be on guard. Sonri Nigan said a lot of words, wanting Han Xianfeng to come up with a good plan as soon as possible. If this continued, the pressure in his heart would be too great. How could Han Xianfeng not understand? He put down his clairvoyance and looked up at the blue sky. He took a few deep breaths in the absence of wind, and then looked at the beacon tower that was still burning with twin flames. Sonri Nigan, the news has been spread, but the young master and young lady are in Jili province. Can be said that it is a long journey. When the two of them know, even if they rush 800 miles, they will have to wait for nearly a month. In addition, the beacon can't send specific information. When the young master and young lady know, they will send people over and then send people back. It will take at least a month and a half to go back and forth. That is if it is not raining on the road and it is easy to travel. Let's think of a solution ourselves. Han Xianfeng meant that he wanted to make a plan with Sonri Nigan, and then command the army to ensure the stability of this place. He, who had never commanded an army before, was worried and excited at the same time. He was afraid that he would accidentally lose, but he also wanted to lead the army to defeat all the enemies. It could be said that he was very conflicted. Sonri Nigan nodded. He had commanded an army before. For example, the slaves he brought with him. He had also fought in battles before. Now that he had to command more people, he was also very nervous. From now on, the 20 of you are my guards. In the future you have to protect me. I will take care of your meals and your monthly allowance. Xiao Bei, who had caught enough seafood at the seaside, chose 20 people from the 100 people who came from Sanshui County. These 20 people were the best at catching seafood, which meant that they were ranked in the top 20. The children who came to be guards would not object. They would do whatever the master said. They had already understood during training. Why? You want 20 people, what should we do? Xiao Yuan did not care about the psychological trauma of tripping rope and strongly objected. Xiao Bei also realized that she wanted more people, but she did not want to admit it. She deliberately did not look at Xiao Yuan's angry eyes. She lowered her head and looked at her little feet. Her 10 toes moved back and forth on the sand. When the atmosphere was too oppressive, she said softly, "You guys can divide the rest. I won't steal any more, really." "You've already finished stealing. How many people are there? Count. 1, 2, 3, 9 people, 100 guards. How can you divide 20 people? Do you think I don't know math? You divide 10. Xiao Yuan's math was far worse than Xiao Hai's. Took him a while to finish counting. If each person had 10, there would be 10 left. As he spoke, he was calculating how to divide the remaining 10. He had to continue counting. It was very troublesome. Xiao Bei also calculated. She calculated first. If each person has 10, then there are 10 left. Just enough for me. The remainder is very small. No, it's not like that. Brother Xiao Hai, how do you calculate? Xiao Yuan looked at Xiao Hai for help. Xiao Hai clearly had no interest in such a difficult question, but he still answered. If each person has 11 guards, then there's 1 left. What do you do in class? You have to ask me such a simple question. Oh, so it's like that. Xiao Yuan wanted to refute. His math was not good, but he was good at memorizing. But who asked him to be born later than Xiao Hai? He had to show respect. Besides, Xiao Hai's math was really good. At least it was better than his. Xiao Bei looked up at her brother, Zhang Xiaobao, for help. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan. The two looked at each other and smiled. This group of brothers and sisters was really fun. Nodding, Zhang Xiaobao said to Xiao Bei, "Indeed, each person has 11 guards. There's 1 left. Then I want 12. You're not allowed to fight with me for the extra." The smart Xiao Bei did not dare to insist on 20 guards. She knew the principle of cutting off friends, so she had always done so. Zhang Gang wanted to write a letter home and ask for more guards from the tribe. He did not want to fight with others for a few spots, but he did not dare. Seeing that no one said anything, he could only agree to the fact that Xiao Bei had 1 more guard. The 12 people who were ranked first in swimming were taken by Xiao Bei. She chose people so simply. She did not consider whether those who were good at swimming were still good on land. After the others had finished choosing their guards, Xiao Bei came to Xiao Hai's side like a little sister. She grabbed Xiao Hai's hand and shook it vigorously. "Brother, you don't usually need guards. Why don't you let me help you train them? Is that okay? Is that okay?" Usually, it was too difficult to get Xiao Bei to call him brother. Who asked the 4 little guys to be born so close together? Xiao Hai did not care about guards. He was focused on math. When he heard his sister asking for a guard, he nodded and agreed. Xiao Bei cheered. She looked at Xiao Yuan, who had just opposed her, and revealed a unique smile. Xiao Yuan consciously pretended not to see it and turned his head to do his own things. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked on and did not care. If not, life would be much less fun. On the way back, Xiao Bei did not ride a car or ride a horse. She was very happy. This was because she had her own team, even if the average age was slightly younger. Xiao Bao, when you go back, give an expensive gift to the surrounding commander-in-chief's manors. Don't worry about money. The friendship between the various places here can't be measured by money. Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao as they walked. Zhang Xiaobao agreed very happily. He did not ask for the reason. There would be a day when he would know, and he would not have to wait too long. As soon as they returned to the manor, Zhang Xiaobao began to give gifts to the surrounding places. According to the status of the other party, the gifts given ranged from 1,000 strings of coins to 10,000 strings of coins. A total of 32 gifts were given, and the total value was 110,000 strings of coins. Those who received the gifts were happy and worried. They were very clear about the value of the gifts now. The lowest value was more than 4,000 strings of coins. Naturally, they did not know that the cost of the gifts was more than 1,000 strings of coins. They took the gifts and wanted to give back the same value, but they were reluctant to give it back. Fortunately, the letter with the gifts mentioned a proposal, which was to hold a joint military exercise together. They hoped that they could cooperate. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were in charge of the site of the exercise, and they were in charge of the food. Agreeing was giving face, and there was no need to return the gifts. One by one they agreed. Not everyone was only doing it for money. Some people did not care about money. They wanted to see the combat effectiveness of the soldiers in Jili province. Zhang Xiaobao finally guessed part of the content at this time. He asked Wang Wan, "Where are you going to take them to hold the joint military exercise?" "Depends on the situation in Jinchuan. If it's good, we will hold a training exercise in the entire northern part of Hebei province for half a year. If it's not good, we will go to Jinchuan. I'd rather pay a lot of money for it." Wang Wan did not keep it a secret. As soon as she said it, Zhang Xiaobao knew what she meant. "Well, it's worth the money. First, we can let the army be familiar with the terrain here. After all, they come from the south. Second, we can let the team participating in the exercise feel our military treatment. Even if we don't win them over, we must leave a deep impression in their hearts. As for Jinchuan, the significance of this exercise is greater, and at the same time the purpose of this exercise is stronger." "Good idea. Whether they agree or not, it's good for us." Zhang Xiaobao praised Wang Wan. Before Wang Wan could be modest, he changed the topic. "But, if they don't agree to go to Jinchuan, are you really going to do something to them? I believe that our friendship is like the evergreen tree. When I gave them very precious and valuable gifts, I never thought about money. Betrayal is shameful. I believe they won't betray us," Wang Wan said sincerely. When the various forces in northern Hebei province were busy transferring troops for the exercise, Shui Yun flew over mountains and rivers and finally arrived at Jinchuan. Under the shocked gazes of Han Xianfeng and Sonri Nigan, she lowered her head and scratched the ground with her claws, reminding Han Xianfeng what she should do. "Shui Yun, why are you here? Come get some water. Kill a cow and drag it here. Hurry, our Shui Yun flew here from Jili province. She's exhausted." Han Xianfeng knew Shui Yun. When he was in Sanshui County, he often dealt with Shui Yun. When he saw Shui Yun, he was surprised at first and then felt sorry for her. While instructing his subordinates to prepare the things, he walked up to Shui Yun and held her in his arms. To him, Shui Yun was not an eagle, but a person. Sonri Nigan took a few deep breaths to calm her heartbeat. Then she said, "She's Shui Yun, the world's #1 eagle. She's really amazing. She can fly here from Jili province. She's worth a lot of money. Let's see what she brings. Take a rest. Come, Shui Yun. Drink some water first. The fresh beef will be here soon. Let me see if you've lost weight." Han Xianfeng treated Shui Yun like a person. He had someone bring a basin of water to Shui Yun and stood to the side to make room for Shui Yun to drink more comfortably. Shui Yun was indeed exhausted. She only ate a little rabbit meat and drank some water because she was in a hurry. She spent the rest of the time flying. When she was tired, she would soar, rest, and continue flying. She lowered her head and gulped down the water. When she was almost done drinking, the beef was also sent over. Han Xianfeng chose the best beef and cut it into strips to feed Shui Yun. Shui Yun slowly swallowed the meat before taking the letter out. Sonri Nigan also came close to read it. The first sentence of the letter was not to ask about what happened here. Instead, it told Han Xianfeng that Shui Yun needed rest and beef. Then it asked what happened to Jin Chuan. Gave a few guesses and suggestions. If they matched, they could follow the plan in the letter. While the two were reading the letter, Shui Yun, who had eaten and drunk enough, flew to the roof to sleep. Seeing that it was getting late, Han Xianfeng didn't go to Shui Yun immediately after he finished writing the letter. Although eagles had great endurance and could survive for a few days without eating, drinking, or sleeping, he didn't want Shui Yun to go back immediately. Anyway, the carnivorous people were more obedient and didn't do anything out of line. He ordered people to find a lot of soft straw and cotton wool and put them on the ground for Shui Yun to sleep on. Han Xianfeng thought about the plan in the letter and then fell asleep. Shui Yun had another meal. It grabbed the straw and cotton wool on the ground and flew to a crack in the cliff nearby. It began to make a nest, planning to have a good sleep. If it were other eagles, they might not accept other people's help, but Shuiyun was not. It was not stupid. If it were Shuiyun, where would it find such soft straw and cotton wool? It was colder at night than during the day, so it would save as much energy as possible. While Shuiyun was sleeping with many people, dozens of figures flashed out from a lake in the desert. They quickly ran toward the place where the Haloxylon amandendron was planted. When the dozens of people came to the outside of the fence, someone shouted, "Who are you? Stop, don't move, or we'll shoot you to death." Following the shout, there was also the sound of dogs barking, adding a bit of noise to the silent night. Under the waning moon, the dozens of people didn't listen to the warning at all. They quickly jumped over the fence and rushed inside. Then there was the sound of rustling. When the dogs' barks got closer, the dozens of people jumped over the fence again and ran back to the camp by the lake as fast as they could. Then there were the sounds of dogs howling. If someone's ears were good, they could vaguely make out that there were human grunts mixed in. Under the night, everything returned to normal. The guards had been ordered not to give chase when something happened. They had to wait until the sun came up. When the red sun jumped out, the guards finally discovered the situation inside the fence yesterday. Several hundred Haloxylon amandendron trees had been cut down, and 3 dogs had gone missing. It must be them, the cannibals did it. I knew they didn't have good intentions there. Zhang Yuzhu, who was in charge of planting the Haloxylon amandendron trees, pointed at the cannibals' camp and cried. There was no need for him to say it. The others also understood, but they couldn't make the decision. They could only wait for Han Xianfeng to come. Han Xianfeng, who had gotten up early to train, finally received the news when he was about to finish. He rode over with Sonri Nigan. Looking at the Haloxylon amandendron trees and the smoke rising from the cannibals' camp, Han Xuanfeng's face was gloomy. Fortunately, Shui Yun didn't go back yesterday. Seems I need to write a new letter. After saying this, Han Xianfeng ordered, "Continue with your work and pretend nothing happened. We'll talk about it at night. There aren't many Haloxylon amandendron trees that were cut down. We'll plant more." Leaving these words behind, the two rode back to the house. Han Xianfeng tore up the letter he wrote yesterday and wrote a new one. He called out to Shui Yun, who was hovering in the sky. After Shui Yun came down to eat and drink, he tied a bamboo tube to it and stroked its feathers. "Go back. Be careful, there's no rush here. Don't tire yourself out." It wasn't clear if Shui Yun understood, but she cried out and ran a little. She flapped her wings and flew into the sky again. Gradually, she became a small black dot and disappeared from Han Xuanfeng's sight. If there were more Shui Yun, we wouldn't need pigeons. It's much more convenient, Sonri Nigan said enviously. They're chickens. You can have as many as you want. The only thing we can hope for is for Shui Yun to find a partner. When we have a little Shui Yun, we'll see if we can raise one. Han Xuanfeng's eyes were still looking at the sky. Sonri Nigan knew about eagles and said, even if we have a little Shui Yun, it might not be useful. She might fall to her death. First, she'll be pushed or thrown down by a big eagle. Then, even if she can fly, she'll have her wings broken by the big eagle. Not many survive. You're talking about other eagles. Shui Yun isn't that stupid. He'll wait for others to make a thick cushion for him and then throw the little eagle down from the sky. Even if it doesn't learn to fly, he can catch it and throw it again. It's the same when he breaks its wings. With the little prince and his wife's wealth, it wouldn't be difficult for them to pave dozens of acres of cotton for Shui Yun. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. When Shui Yun has a child, will the little prince and his wife do that? Will Shui Yun cooperate? Han Xianfeng, who treated Shui Yun as a human, didn't agree with Sonri Nigan. Other eagles weren't smart enough, but Shui Yun, a psychic eagle, would be very cooperative. After all, it was his child. Sonri Nigan was dumbfounded by Han Xuanfeng's words. Thinking about it carefully, it was true. Yes, Shui Yun is different from other eagles. Other eagles are arrogant, but they are arrogant to everything. Shui Yun is only arrogant in battle. Knows when to advance and retreat. If someone is good to it, it will be very cooperative. That's why it's alive. Many of its enemies are dead. Don't worry about Shui Yun. The little prince and his wife will think about it. Tonight the revenge will begin. Han Xianfeng looked in the direction of the Duo Eater's camp and sneered. Night fell again. No one could see Shui Yun, who endured the sleepiness and continued to fly. The moon was a little less, and the sky was darker. Instead, the stars were brighter. Dozens of figures came out from the lake. They went around a big circle and headed toward the fenced haloxylon tree. When they got close to the fence again, the leader finally found that something was wrong. He stopped in confusion. After thinking carefully, he realized what was wrong. There was one sound missing. The dog stopped barking. Just as he was hesitating whether to continue or not, and whether there were any traps ahead, a fire suddenly appeared in the direction of the camp. Then there were screams. At first there were only one or two screams, but in the end, there were a lot of screams. The leader of the dozens of figures couldn't care less about the haloxylon tree in front of him. He ran back to the camp first, followed by dozens of people. If the moon was round and bright enough, one would be able to see the anxious expressions on their faces. When they returned to the camp, some people in the camp rushed out, and some couldn't meet up with them. In addition to the people who ran out without any problems, there were also people who were on fire, making heart-wrenching sounds as they ran around like headless flies. The people immediately began to look for tools to hold water. They ran to the lake to scoop up water and splashed it on the people on fire. When the sound gradually stopped, the whole camp had become a sea of fire. The remaining 400 or so people looked at the scene in front of them and wanted to cry. Until now, they hadn't seen the people who attacked the camp. It was as if the camp itself was on fire. But this was impossible. They knew who did it, but like Han Xianfeng last night, they couldn't find any evidence to prove it. Unwilling to give up like this, the Duergans spread out and searched for enemies that might appear in the surroundings. As long as they could find one, they would have an excuse to cause trouble for the Tang people living here. At the very least, they would have an excuse to dispatch troops. A few of the Duo Eaters lit torches from the campsite and walked all the way to the outside of the fence. Just as they realized that they had gone in the wrong direction and were about to go back, someone suddenly shouted from inside the fence. "Who are you? Don't move." The man-eaters were stunned. Only then did they realize that they were still holding torches. One of them shouted, and the man-eaters threw down their torches and prepared to leave. Before they could run a few steps, a buzzing sound came from the sky, and then countless arrows fell, nailing them to the ground. Those who hadn't died for the time being could still vaguely hear the sound of dogs barking. Before daybreak, more than 100 people with crossbows in their hands made a large circle and returned home. If someone carefully smelled them, they would be able to smell the smell of cooked oil on their bodies. When the people who had endured until daybreak checked the camp, they found many arrowheads made of stone. Looking at these arrowheads and the ashes of the arrow shafts, the people understood that if they asked the Tang people about these things, they wouldn't admit it, because the Tang people didn't have stone arrowheads. If they didn't believe it, they could look at the people the Tang people found. They were dragging a few corpses, and the corpses were full of arrows. Those arrows were definitely iron arrowheads. When questioned by the Tang people, the people also questioned them. Even though both sides knew that the other side was the culprit, neither side was willing to reveal it. Chapter 799. Zhang Shua felt that he had found an opportunity. The more he spoke, the smoother he became. He repeatedly told Li Longji about the various benefits of taking over Jinchuan. How could Li Longji not know about the benefits of taking over Jinchuan? Jinchuan did not belong to the Tang Empire. The terrain there was dangerous, and if he could rule it, it would be much easier to deal with Tubo. However, it was precisely because of this that he felt that he could not take over that place. If he did, it would be tantamount to falling out with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Tubo, who was originally in an honest state, could easily be forced into a corner. Not only Tubo but the Tujue might also interfere. Hearing Zhang Shua say that he would send people to seize Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's slaves, Li Longji's eyes revealed an inexplicable emotion. This emotion was directed at Zhang Shua. Zhang Jiuling, who was guarding at the side, looked at the emperor's expression and found that something was wrong. He was too calm, and his eyes narrowed because of Wei Wei. He was worried that Zhang Shua would anger the emperor, so he quickly interjected. Lord Zhang, Jinchuan is where Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan earn money. I think that the people there will only listen to the two of them. Seems inappropriate to send people to manage it. Just as Zhang Shua was thinking of a way to make the emperor agree to his suggestion, he was interrupted by Zhang Jiuling's words. He looked at Zhang Jiuling with a bit of dissatisfaction. When he saw Zhang Jiuling look back at him with a gaze that was not easy to see in the past, his heart trembled and he finally reacted. He carefully looked at the emperor again and did not mention who should be sent. He then glanced at Yu Wenrong, who spoke up for him just now, and said, Your Majesty, Zhang Jiuling is right. Think about what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are thinking. I wonder if Your Majesty has a plan for the two of them. When Zhang Shua said this, he felt very helpless. He understood that the emperor's support for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan was very firm. If he wanted to touch the two of them, it seemed that Jinchuan was not a good opportunity. Moreover, recently, he also felt that the emperor's attitude towards him seemed to have changed. It was not that the emperor suddenly distanced himself from him, but when he spoke to him, there was less of the usual casualness, and more of a businesslike manner. This was not good. He had to think of a way to make up for it. Li Longji glanced at Zhang Jiuling, but didn't say anything. He nodded at Gao Lisher, who hurriedly stepped forward and reached into his bosom. When he looked again, there was a letter in his hand. Then he turned to the others and said, After Xiao Bao and Cuckoo found out about the fire beacon, they came up with a plan. Gentlemen, please take a look. As he spoke, Gao Lisher delivered the letter to Yu Wenrong. The content of the letter was slightly more than usual. Yu Wenrong first skimmed through it, but then his eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. He carefully read the letter from beginning to end, and his body couldn't help but tremble, as if he had seen something shocking. The others couldn't help but be curious. What exactly was written in the letter that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sent that made the practical Yu Wenrong so scared? Lord Yu, may I take a look? Li Linfu, who had always wanted to learn and surpass Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan one day, saw that Yu Wenrong didn't hand the letter to anyone else, so he reminded him. Yu Wenrong blankly handed the letter to Li Linfu. He stared blankly at the letter. Those who knew him knew that this was his expression when he encountered something special. Li Linfu took the letter and carefully read it word by word. After reading it, he also shivered and sucked in a breath of cold air. He handed the letter to another person and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, this subject understands today what it means to be so intelligent that it's almost like a demon. This subject is inferior." Li Longji's head moved up and down slightly, indicating that he agreed with Li Linfu's words. In his heart he thought, "Do I need you to say this? Otherwise, how could I have been fooled? Who would have thought that something would happen to Jinchuan, and that the two of them could be used to deal with the people of northern Hebei province?" The letter was passed around one by one. Everyone who read the letter had an unusual expression. They were frightened, but at the same time, they felt sorry for the people from the martial manor. Those people didn't pay the rent tax, and some people didn't even pay the tribute. Look at what happened now. His Majesty sent 2 children to see whether they would pay the rent tax or not in the future. Those who looked down on the children might pay enough, even to the extent that it was unbearable. Zhang Jiuling read the letter and said as if he was talking to himself. At first, he thought that it was just 2 children who were easy to deal with. Later, he understood that His Majesty sent the 2 most powerful people in our province. Less time, luck and fate. His voice was not loud, but in the quiet environment, others, including Li Longji, heard it clearly. No one refuted Zhang Jiuling's words. As he said, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could be said to be the 2 most powerful people in the Tang Empire. They should be deeply honored to be sent to Jili province to suppress the martial manor in northern Hebei province. Li Longji had the feeling of being praised for his ability to judge people and was in a very good mood. If it weren't for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, he would have to marry a princess. Although it was a princess in name, it was still uncomfortable. Only when there was no other way could he use women in exchange for a period of stability. Who would know that every woman I marry is a disgrace? Li Longji thought to himself. Zhang Shua also finished reading the letter. He thought about it and said, "Your Majesty, if something really happened to Jinchuan, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan will lead the troops to battle. If the people of the martial manor don't cooperate and they take action, will the capital send troops to help? What do you think, Minister Zhang?" Li Longji did not answer but asked in return. Zhang Shua hesitated and said, "I think that if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan find an excuse to send troops to other martial manors, the imperial court can't directly send troops to help. They are using friendship as an excuse. If they send troops, it will be a private army. Your Majesty, when the time comes, you will need to punish them and reprimand them for sending troops without permission." "Well, that's natural. Is there anything else?" Li Longji agreed with Zhang Shua's statement. Even if he wanted Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to beat the other side into submission, he had no choice but to issue a statement when the 2 of them were making a move. Otherwise, if someone else followed suit and secretly sent out troops, should he interfere or not? Seeing that the emperor asked him again, Zhang Shua continued, "The imperial court can't send troops, but it can make a move to deploy troops. It will put pressure on the martial manor in Hunan province and make them not dare to act rashly." Li Longji was satisfied. He was very angry just now that Zhang Shua wanted to go against the 2 children at such a critical time. He asked the others, "Who has other ideas?" Everyone was silent, which meant that they agreed with Zhang Shua. Chapter 800. After a few more days of hard flying, the thinner Shuiyun finally returned to the capital of Jili. Seeing Shuiyun's tired appearance, Zhang Xiaobao and the others felt sorry for her. They had already prepared to slaughter the cow, and Zhang Ying accompanied her, saying something that they did not know if Shuiyun could understand. "It's actually a meddlesome person, not the Tubo or the Turks as we guessed." Zhang Xiaobao, who had received the information, was very puzzled. "That doesn't prove that the 2 places are not behind this. 500 people are probably not enough to fill the gap between the teeth of the slave army. Fortunately, I wrote a letter to tell them not to act rashly. Otherwise, if they were all wiped out, where would they find an excuse to send troops?" Wang Wan was very happy to see the information. This was good. With an excuse to send troops, They could mobilize the people in the commander-in-chief's office. Then, it would be the critical moment for the next step. Zhang Xiaobao also understood Wang Wan's plan. This time she would take the soldiers away. Through the delicious food and drinks along the way and her commanding skills, she would be able to greatly impress the soldiers. When the time came, they would have more fighting strength. Even if some people could not be recruited because of their family members, they could spread the news of their strength to others through their mouths. If they attacked other places in the future, it would also be a blow to the morale of the other places. But there was still one more thing to solve. The Duo Eaters are not hostile to the Tang Empire yet. If we attack them, will there be diplomatic problems? How can they not be hostile? Cutting down our haloxylon shuttle trees is a provocation to us, an invasion of the Great Tang. Our Jili province is not the North military camp of the Northeast. The ones who should be thinking about diplomatic troubles are the Duo cannibals. They need to pay enough to appease the anger of the Great Tang. Wang Wan did not care about international relations. The current Tang Empire was still very powerful. Well, send a letter to the people participating in the exercise and tell them to be prepared. I believe that our friendship can pass the test of war. Seeing that Wang Wan insisted, Zhang Xiaobao naturally would not continue to object. As he spoke, he spread out the paper on the table and wrote a letter. Along with the letters sent to the surrounding governors' manors, there were also letters sent to the capital. The capital didn't have a spirit eagle like Shuiyun, so they still didn't know the exact situation in Jinchuan. Pengzhou Pass had probably only just received the news and sent people to deliver the letters to the capital as quickly as possible. However, it would still take a long time for the letters to arrive. Li Longji had just finished discussing with Zhang Shua and the others what they were going to do next. They were prepared to fully support Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, at least in name. As for the deployment of troops, they would just treat it as normal training. If they did not do anything, the soldiers would get rusty. As a result, they were shocked by the news they received just as they were about to make a decision on Hebei province. Li Shi Cuckoo is about to start a war. When Li Longji received the news, he was tasting his tea. This year's new tea had arrived, and there were many top-notch teas. Ever since he said that there was no need to send him the best tea every year, Li Longji was finally able to enjoy them. Otherwise, he would have to continue drinking the original first-class tea. Gao Lishir understood the emperor's meaning. Although the emperor only said a few words, he wanted to ask whether they should hold some kind of drill in Jiannan province. Your Majesty, this subject believes that we cannot start a war in Jiannan province at this time. First, the troops there are not conscripts. They are the soldiers that the local Jidushi recruited using the money collected from the local area. Just like what Xiao Bao and Cuckoo said, soldiers with conviction are the most reliable soldiers. Li Longji didn't say anything in response to Gao Lishir's words, but his eyes showed his approval. Nowadays, the capital and the surrounding prefectures were already recruiting conscripts. Although the treatment was not as good as that of Jili province, compared to recruiting soldiers, it was better to solve the worries of those who wanted to join the army. Therefore, the results were not bad. As for the work arrangements in a few years, one could be sent to the local government offices to serve as yamen runners, while the other could be sent to the business enterprises of the Zhang family and Wang family. This was what they had agreed on at the beginning. Gao Lishir continued. Secondly, our great Tang should not say anything about this matter. Even if Xiao Bao is this subject's adopted son, the two of them are very important to our court. Jinchuan is not our great Tang's territory. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo sending troops is their business. If our court speaks up, wouldn't it be admitting that Jinchuan belongs to Great Tang? What would Tubo think? In fact, Li Longji also thought the same, but he didn't want to say it out loud. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were helping him to guard a large area. If he didn't help at a crucial time, what would he do if the two little guys threw tantrums? But when it came from Gao Lishir's mouth, it was different. That's fine. I'll listen to Lishir's recommendation. As for Xiao Bao, I'll write a letter to them. I believe that the two of them also think the same. I'm just afraid that the other commander-in-chief's manners might not agree. Gao Lishir quickly took over the task. Li Longji also said, let the Jiangnan East Navy cooperate with the Hunan South Navy. The location is at the front line of Dengzhou. The news was quickly sent to Zhang Xiaobao. After reading it, he smiled and said to Wang Wan, Li Longji is telling us to send troops in his own name and give us compensation in other aspects. Now, it's up to the people of the Commander-in-Chief's manors to cooperate. When the people of the Commander-in-Chief's manors who were asked by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to cooperate with the drill received Zhang Xiaobao's request to hold the drill in Jinchuan, they didn't react at first. They only thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to bring troops over to show off their past achievements. Considering that all the supplies along the way would be provided by Jili province and they didn't have to pay for it, and that they could help train the troops on the long journey, they agreed. But when the troops were out and on the road, the people in the capital who had accepted their bribes finally sent the latest news. What? There's news about Jinchuan. No, it must be that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's place is in danger. They want me to help them fight. But when he received the news, he immediately understood. He rolled his eyes and wanted to refuse to participate. The advisor beside him advised, we have to send troops. If we don't, the first place the two of them will attack is our Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. Besides, there probably isn't a big battle to fight over there. Otherwise, how could the two of them have the time to mobilize troops here? Chapter 801. Waves splashed on the shore, and the sound of gulls and egrets could be heard. With Jili province as the leader and other provinces as support, they came to the seaside and boarded the boat prepared by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They looked at the place where the water met the sky and moved north against the current. However, at this moment, Tu Yu was also standing on the deck of a ship. His face did not reveal the excited expression of the other soldiers. In fact, he really wanted to stay in the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office, and take advantage of the fact that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not here to stir up trouble. But he didn't dare to do so. It had nothing to do with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It was mainly because of the Tang Empire's imperial court. To be precise, it was Li Longji's plan. He mobilized 60,000 soldiers from Hunan province to hold a drill in Dengzhou. At the same time, he also took out 6,000 navy soldiers from Jiangnan province. If one were to travel by land from Jili to Dengzhou, it would take about a month to travel on horseback. But if one were to travel by water, it would only take a few days. Who would dare to make trouble for Jili? Perhaps the strong army of the great Tang would arrive before the soldiers were ready. Li Longji is a stupid emperor. He will regret it one day if he doesn't take the opportunity to weaken Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Tu Yu rubbed his face that was a little numb from the salty sea breeze and said confidently. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care what Tu Yu thought. He didn't have the time. He was busy with the logistics plan. He had to let the soldiers understand the strength of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Wang Wan, on the other hand, was playing with Pan Er and the two little ones. Xiao Bei and the others had left with them. Naturally, they couldn't leave the two little darlings in Jili province, even if there were still 5,000 soldiers guarding the province. Of course, they couldn't send the two little guys back to the capital. When they reached Luoyang, they would let their parents take care of them. As for Xiao Bei and the others, it was better to follow them all the way to Jinchuan. They could let the 100 little guards see what a real war was like. No matter how good the training was, it was different from actual combat. Xiao Bei, who was used to following his family around, pulled Xiao Yuan to stand by the side of the boat. He stretched out 2 fingers and then 3. He asked, "Do you know what this is called?" 2 and 3. Xiao Yuan tried his best to stay as far away from Xiao Bei as possible and said softly, "Wrong, it's 23% of my strength," Xiao Bei said proudly. Xiao Yuan pursed his lips. He understood what Xiao Bei was trying to convey. Wasn't it just 23 bodyguards? Was there a need to repeat it every day? You're not convinced, are you? Then when we reach Jinchuan, let's compete and see whose guards kill more enemies. Xiao Bei, who wanted to be a general, issued a challenge to Xiao Yuan. Little Yuan shook his head vigorously. A gentleman doesn't stand on a collapsing wall. It's better for me to hide behind. You win. Tisk, only children would hide behind. You're just a child. You're the kid, I'm not. Xiao Yuan finally didn't care whether he was a gentleman or not. It was a great insult to be called a kid. That's right. How did Big Brother teach her? Are you ready? Be ready at all times. We are the Strong Children's Protection Group, the future masters. Xiao Bei waved her little fists and sang in a crisp voice. She was now a member of a team. Xiao Yuan also hummed a few words. But after thinking about it, he was still worried. Can we really do it? Of course. Why don't you lend your 11 people to me first? Cooperation is the foundation of victory. The minority obeys the majority. I have more people, so your people have to obey me. Xiao Bei's purpose was finally exposed. After saying this, he suddenly rubbed his stomach. Let's eat. Let's go. Don't waste time. After eating, we still have to listen to the story. The matter we talked about just now is settled. What matter? Xiao Yuan didn't want to give up the military power, so he pretended not to know. Lend the soldiers. It's an adult matter. Let's go, or we won't be able to hear the story. Xiao Bei hurriedly pulled Xiao Yuan and ran into the cabin. Even children knew how to control the military power, so it was impossible for adults not to know. The generals who followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan out of the various prefectures were repeatedly told before they left that they could slightly cooperate with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but they definitely couldn't let the two of them obtain the military power. From the moment they sat on the ship, each of the generals appeared to be very nervous. The fear of water and the unfamiliarity of Jinchuan made the hearts of the soldiers who were far away from home fluctuate. If that was the case, they and the other generals wouldn't have to worry. But when they didn't have any good ideas, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan actually sent many people to contact the soldiers here. They talked about the scenery along the way, talked about the various places they would pass by, and talked about the famous people who had appeared in the past and present. They introduced the situation at Jinchuan and talked about the measures to deal with seasickness. They had never seen such an army. Other than going to war, they still had to talk to the soldiers. Pressure, a lot of pressure. They didn't know if they could continue to control the soldiers when the time came. The gathered generals considered this and kept glancing at each other, but they didn't have any ideas. If they were asked to do the same thing, they admitted that they couldn't do it. During the meal, one of the generals finally couldn't hold back the worry in his heart and whispered to another person beside him. General Mona, did you suddenly ask us to gather at the cabin tonight? Should we go or not? The person who was called Mo Na couldn't make a decision at the moment. Now that they had left their hometown and no one was around, they had to be careful. He replied, "Let's talk about it later. I'm just worried that we don't have to worry about food and water here. Will the soldiers not have enough to eat? This time there are a total of more than 40,000 people here. It's difficult to make good supplies." The person who asked the question also nodded. That's right. There are 5,000 guards in Jili province. 3,000 went to the north. I don't know what they did, but 1,000 disappeared for no reason. Only 1,000 are with the troops. I don't know how big the battle at Jinchuan is. I heard that the flames of war have been going on for a few days. Maybe they have already started the battle. They deliberately didn't light 3 flames to deceive us. When the battle really starts, I hope you can help. His guess was right. The battle had indeed started. Logically speaking, there should be 3 flames of war. However, whether it was Han Xianfeng, Zhang Xiaobao, or Wang Wan, they didn't want to do that. 2 flames could be a reminder, but 3 flames would make the people in the imperial court who didn't know the specific reason uneasy. Of course. Mona was also nervous. He always felt that he was being schemed against. The generals had different thoughts when eating, but the soldiers under their command lived very well. According to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's understanding, Northerners usually had a strong appetite, so the food prepared for the soldiers was a little salty. Coupled with the light soup, the taste was something the soldiers had never tasted before. Giamos made of marinated donkey meat, pickles in jars, and soup with cucumber, egg, and fungus were 3 simple dishes. All the soldiers ate until their stomachs were bloated. They couldn't stop cheering. However, when the person sent by Kutuyu to investigate came back, Kutuyu felt more and more uneasy. Usually in the army, he didn't give his subordinates donkey meat and good biscuits, let alone soup with fungus. Many soldiers probably didn't even know what fungus tasted like since they were born. How could fungus be eaten by ordinary people? It seemed that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were scheming something big. He thought about how he had always lost in the several confrontations. Suddenly, he was worried and unconvinced. He waited until night came and discussed with the generals before he could unite to deal with the 2 of them. A ship was not slow. Even if it was against the current on the water, it didn't stop at all. In addition to the full sail, the wheels on both sides of the ship were also turning non-stop. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have to take all the supplies from his own home. In that case, the loss of freight would be even greater. Along the way, he bought directly from the places on both sides of the river. The current season was a good time for several kinds of vegetables. He sent people to spread the news that he was buying a large amount of goods. There were naturally clever merchants who would think of ways to collect enough ingredients and send them to the place. As a result, the prices on both sides of the Yellow River rose by a lot. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have the leisure to think about how much the passing by could increase the economy on both sides of the river. He was thinking about how to deal with Kutuyu. Every cabin where the generals lived had a special surveillance method. What a group of generals discussed last night naturally couldn't escape his ears. After hearing the report from his subordinates, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "But Tuyu is really ruthless. In order to deal with us, he didn't care about the health of the soldiers and wanted to poison them. He even wanted to eat poisonous things themselves. It's not a poison that can kill people. It's just croton. There are only 2 purposes. First, he wants his subordinates to misunderstand us. Even if they don't think that we poisoned them, they will think that our logistics are not good. Second, he wants to delay time. He can't travel so fast when he's sick." Wang Wan showed a very disdainful attitude towards what Kutuyu did. Zhang Xiaobao sat there and tapped his face with his hand for a long time. "Since he wants to do things to the extreme, I will help him. It's not easy for him to get a lot of croton. I have to help him. He wants to be ruthless to himself, but I will be even more ruthless to him. I want to see if he can continue to command the army after he falls ill." "What are you going to do?" Wang Wan hadn't seen Zhang Xiaobao's signature move for a long time, but this didn't mean that she didn't know the consequences of Zhang Xiaobao's actions. Zhang Xiaobao also missed this kind of direct and targeted strategy. He chuckled and said, "There's a tactic called information warfare, and there's also a saying called 3 men make a tiger. Our advantage is that we have Water Cloud and Pigeon. Even if he doesn't do it, he'll still do it even if everyone says he did it. You want to send a message directly to the Song-Mo Commander-in-Chief's office and expose Kutuyu's actions." Wang Wan guessed. "No, I want to send a message to his surroundings and let the people in the Song-Mo Commander-in-Chief's office know through other people's mouths. But not now. No matter what, we have to go through the capital so that they can't catch up even if they want to send a message." Chapter 802. While Kutuyu and the other generals were in a bad mood, their soldiers were living a very good life. During this period of time, they were able to eat good food that they normally couldn't eat. White steamed buns and rice that were very comfortable to bite on. Coupled with a supply of vegetables and meat, they felt that this time they were not out to fight but to enjoy life. Especially at night, when the dew was heavy, the person in charge of the night watch could even get a small cup of wine. It looked a little small, but it was much stronger than the wine they drank before. Just a small cup was enough to warm up their entire body from the inside out. The soldiers had already fallen in love with this kind of life. The only thing that made them a little unhappy was that the food that followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, as well as the few hundred guards, was not the same as what they were eating. For example, last night they had 1 serving of fish, 2 servings of vegetables, eggplant and cucumber, and a bowl of mutton soup. However, the people who came with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ate eggplant and cabbage. The meat dish was braised pork and a bowl of egg soup. The braised pork was fine. After all, the fish they ate was called braised fish, although the taste was a little worse. However, eggplant and cabbage were not vegetarian dishes at all. Whose vegetarian dish was called minced meat and eggplant? Whose vegetarian dish had shredded meat in it? No matter how envious or jealous they were, they couldn't complain. I won't complain. A Khitan soldier who was in charge of the night watch held a cup of warm wine in his hand. He licked it gently with his tongue and said to the person next to him who was also in charge of the night watch, "My life is worth it. I have meat every day and wine when I am in charge of the night watch. Since I was young, I have never drunk such good wine." Another soldier had the same feeling. He sniffed the wine cup with his nose and said, "It's a pity that someone else will be in charge of the night watch tomorrow. When I discussed it with them, they didn't want to do it. I am willing to do the hard work of night watch. Right now I'm just scared. I'm scared that if I follow them all the way and come back victorious, how am I going to live without Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang? Now I understand why their subordinates are so good at fighting and eat so well. Keep your voice down. Don't let anyone hear you. Otherwise, even if you don't die, you will lose a layer of skin. I really regret that I didn't go to Geely State to be a soldier. If I brought my family with me, oh, I don't dare to think about it, I don't dare to think about it." The person who spoke earlier lowered his voice and looked around nervously. Seeing that no one was paying attention to them, he heaved a sigh of relief. The two of them sipped their wine and continued their night watch. The same thing was happening on different ships. But how could Tu not hear any news at all? However, he had no other choice. He couldn't possibly ask his subordinates not to eat the food provided by the Zhang family and Wang family. Where would he find food to feed his subordinates then? His subordinates were used to eating the food of the Zhang family and Wang family. When they returned to the martial manor in the future, would they have to follow the food of the Zhang family and Wang family? Pass down the order. Get someone to buy croton as soon as possible. We'll be arriving in Loyang soon. Hand it over there. Once the croton is obtained, give it to someone to use. Tu had a feeling that time was passing by like a year. He wished he could grow a pair of wings and fly outside to bring back the croton. The subordinate who had been in charge of waiting on him agreed and carefully left the cabin to make the arrangements. Contacting people outside was a very troublesome matter. When the time came, they still had to send the croton to the various ships. A moment of carelessness could be discovered. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already helped Tu arrange some of the matters. They were also waiting for the right time to come. Wang Wan lay on the bed, her head leaning on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder as she whispered, "Xiaobao, the matter of the bank is now considered stable. Do you have any plans for the next step?" Zhang Xiaobao knew what Wang Wan was asking about. It was the same problem of interest as when the national debt was issued. Now, the bank didn't have to pay any additional fees for depositing money. Ever since the bank took this measure, other places that specialized in exchanging money had no choice but to think of other ways to collect funds. No one was willing to deposit money with them. At the beginning, many shops wanted to support the bank, but as the imperial court bought large amounts of silk, when the time was almost up, they felt the determination and strength of the imperial court. Seeing that other people were coming to take a large amount of money and transfer it to the bank, they had no choice but to follow the great Tang Bank's policy of exchanging and storing without any fees. Otherwise, if all the people who deposited money with them came to withdraw money, they simply couldn't afford it. A lot of money had already been lent out in the form of usury, but it wasn't time yet, so they couldn't collect it. It was precisely because of this that Zhang Xiaobao hadn't introduced the matter of interest. He was afraid that it would have too great of an impact on other financial industries. After thinking about it carefully, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "Isn't it a bit too early? You have to know that once interest is paid on deposits, it means that the currency has begun to depreciate. In order to make the people feel that their money hasn't depreciated, we have to increase productivity. Right now, we are researching all kinds of science and technology, but we haven't taken it out yet. Then let's take it out." Wang Wan also understood this situation. If they didn't develop productivity, then the depreciation would be true depreciation. If productivity could keep up, then they would be able to reach a balance between supply and demand. The more productivity developed, the better the people's lives would be. "Xiao Bao, if we take it out, then the people's lives will be better," Wang Wan added. "Even if it's better, they won't be satisfied. Have you read history books? I haven't studied it systematically, but I know the thoughts of human life. In the past it was just liberated, right? At that time, 1 cent could buy a large piece of fermented bean curd. What about us at that time? We didn't have a cent or a cent. 1 piece of fermented bean curd was $1, and it was still small. It should be considered a devaluation of the currency, a devaluation of more than 100 times. But at that time the money we earned was very little, only a dozen or so dollars a month. At that time we earned close to $10,000 a month, and that was considered low. But at that time the people complained that the price of goods was too high. Because luxury goods were expensive, some people earned more money. What's that saying again? It's called, "Don't worry about scarcity, but worry about inequality." Do you mean that in order to let the people live in the happiness of undeveloped productivity forever, you don't want them to transition to an era of inequality where they can eat a lot of food and wear beautiful clothes? I don't agree. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she wondered what he was going to do. But she also knew very well that if one wanted to rely on someone's power to interfere with the development of the era, they could only delay it, but they couldn't stop it. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "I don't agree either. What I mean is that if we develop productivity well, others won't appreciate our kindness. Why should we release all the technology at once? Let's do it bit by bit. If we release a little bit, we can earn a lot of money. The investment in scientific research is not small. In order to have more money to invest in benefiting the people in the future, we need to continue to accumulate a lot of money. We can't burden the imperial court, and we can't exploit the working people. So the interest matter can wait. It can be considered as helping the financial industry." Okay, why are you looking for excuses? Can't you just say that you want to make money? Why do the words sound so strange when they come out of your mouth? Sure enough, there's no good person in business. Wang Wan was confused by Zhang Xiaobao's words just now. When Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, she understood that he was just looking for excuses. Right, who's a good person in business? They're all officials. Good people, good officials, right? Zhang Xiaobao muttered. "I don't have anything to say to you. Go to sleep. Move over there. Don't take your arm away. It's still a pillow." Wang Wan also muttered. She pulled Zhang Xiaobao's arm and put her head on it. "It's numb, it's numb. Tomorrow we have to provoke them and let them be firm in their thoughts. I heard that some girls get married and have children at the age of 13 or 14. We're almost there, right? I heard that eunuchs don't have to worry about this kind of thing for their entire lives. Can help you." At dawn the next day, Xiao Bei and the rest of the little guys started to train their 100 teenage bodyguards again. They did morning exercises on the deck and shouted loudly. It really did look like they were doing something. The bodyguards brought by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, as well as the 1,000 soldiers, were also training in a small area. The other 40,000 people were already immersed in the aroma of the food. It was not inferior to a gentle village at all. Today's breakfast was meat buns. There were some green onions in the chopped meat filling. Before they could eat it, the fragrance that assailed their nostrils made them drool. With the addition of the meat, pickles, tofu pudding and chives, it was as if it was the new year. As expected, when Tuyu found out what they had for breakfast, his expression turned even gloomier. The other generals also felt regret. If they had known earlier, they would not have brought them here personally. This was their own army. If they wanted to win over the hearts of the people when they returned, they would probably have to spend a lot of money. A small portion of the people were depressed, while a large portion of the people were happy. When the fleet arrived at Luoyang, the small portion of the people were also happy. They were all waiting to get Croton from Luoyang. In Luoyang, the fleet had to stop for a day to rest and reorganize. The main reason was that Empress Wang's 2 children had to be sent to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's home. They could not bring 2 babies to war. Seeing that Panna was about to be sent away, Xiaobei reluctantly reached out his hand to touch Panna's face. He lowered his head and kissed her. "Good baby, don't be anxious. It won't be long before Big Sister brings the soldiers back victorious. When that time comes, you'll be a little older. I'll bring you to swim. It's very simple." Panna blinked her eyes and looked at them curiously. In the end, she cried. It was not because of the separation, but because they were not familiar with the people carrying them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's mother just happened to have nothing to do, and her children were not by her side. Now that the 2 little guys were sent over, it could be considered as relieving some of the boredom. After spending a day with Xiaobei and the others, when it was time for the fleet to continue moving, she gave some instructions and left with the 2 children who were still shy. When the crying gradually faded away, the fleet embarked on a new journey. In the cabin, Kutuyu looked at the big bags of croton seeds and was very nervous. He asked the person who went to do the work, "Did anyone follow you?" No, this little one looked carefully. Besides, this little one used the excuse of buying something else as an excuse. Who would have thought that there would be so much croton seeds in the cargo? The person who did the work shook his head and promised. Not to mention that no one else found out. Even if they found out, he would not dare to say anything. Kutuyu licked his lips with his tongue, then bit it and said, "Find a way to spread the news to the other ships. 2 days later at night we will act at the same time. If this matter is leaked, then you. This little one understands. If it is leaked, it will be done by this little one alone. It will have nothing to do with the general. When the time comes, I ask the general to take care of this little one's family." How could the person who did the work not understand Kutuyu's meaning? If there is a problem, he will have to take the blame. Even if he did not want to do this, he did not have the right to choose. "Go, after this matter is done, there will be no shortage of benefits for you," Kutuyu ordered again. He took a few deep breaths and no longer cared about the croton seeds in the cabin. He went outside and looked at the scenery on the river as if nothing had happened. Because they were going to the desert, they did not have to go through Jianan Road by land. This made the Zhang siblings feel very regretful. When the time came, they could only think of a way to discuss with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to let the 2 of them go home to have a look, or to pick up their families. There was no need to go by land, so they walked along the Yellow River. To be precise, they passed by the capital and then entered the Jing River. At this time, Kutuyu was looking at a bridge on the river in shock. The water of the Yellow River surged and hit the side of the ship. Compared to the bridge that spanned the 2 sides, the surging water did not seem so shocking. "What is the name of this bridge?" Kutuyu looked at the pedestrians on the bridge and asked the soldiers on the side of the bridge. Replying to the general, "This bridge is called the 3rd Bridge of the Yellow River. It hasn't been named yet. This humble one has inquired about it. The naming of the bridge is not simple. If someone is willing to pay 1,000 strings of coins, they can name the bridge this year. If they still want to name it next year, they will have to pay again." The soldier had a lot of communication with other people and knew a lot of things. The 3rd bridge. So there is also the 1st bridge and the 2nd bridge. One has to pay 1,000 strings of coins to name it. Is there really someone stupid enough to pay? Kutuyu did not see the bridge the last time he came, but this time there was. It seemed that there was more than one bridge, which made him feel strange. What was even more strange was that they were willing to spend money to name it. The soldier said again, "There is. The 1st bridge and the 2nd bridge have been named. The first bridge is called the 10,000 Zhang cloth line, and the second bridge is called the Wei riverboat transport. General, this bridge was built by the Zhang family and the Wang family. The Zhang family and the Wang family are really capable. They can actually build a bridge on the river. Also, their daily meals are good. Good, you eat it. It is not small, it is not small. Kutu really did not know that the bridge was built by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Seeing it with his own eyes today, not only did he not have the heart to applaud Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but his mood became heavier. The more capable the two families were, the more difficult his life in the commander-in-chief manner would be. Chapter 803. At the place where the sun was about to set, a red glow reflected on the horizon, and even the murmuring river had a trace of gorgeous color. Light smoke rose from hundreds of ships at the same time, and the sound of cooking could not stop. The soldiers who had been used to eating on the ships could not help but secretly swallow a few mouthfuls of saliva. Seeing was believing. Except for the 1,000 soldiers from Jili province and the guards who followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Rong, the other soldiers had a more direct understanding of the capabilities of the two families of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Rong. Although it was said to be military camp food, after tasting it, they found that it tasted more delicious than the food made by some good restaurants in their own provinces. The cooks who followed the army were not ordinary either. It would be good if they could continue to follow the army when they arrived at the place. They were afraid of war, so they could only bring fried noodles and cook by themselves. Usually people were not allowed to enter the kitchen. It was clean inside, and there was no need to worry that people would find rats and cockroaches. It was the same today. Some soldiers liked to wander around when they were bored. The most frequent place was naturally the kitchen. If the master chef was happy, maybe they could steal some food. 3 dishes were fried, 2 vegetables and 1 meat. There was also a big pot of soup. The main dish today was pancakes, which were hot noodles. They were very thin and also very big. Seeing that the dishes were all shredded, one knew that they should eat pancakes for dinner tonight. "Master Bai, are you busy?" A soldier strolled to the door of the kitchen, put 1 foot in, raised his neck and looked at the busy person over there, and asked casually, "Not busy, not busy. Here, try this." The chef who was working inside had finished cooking. What he needed to do was to boil the soup. The dishes were first taken outside, and when the soup was ready, dinner would be served. While preparing the ingredients for the soup, Master Bai put a prawn in front of the soldier's mouth. The soldier quickly opened his mouth and chewed vigorously. He stuck out his thumb and praised, "Delicious, Master Bai's prawns are delicious. There's still soup left. Tonight we're going to have a good time again. Master Bai, I really don't want to eat your dishes. What if I can't eat them in the future?" "You can't stop your mouth from eating. Soon the soup will be ready in a while. You can carry it over after flipping the flour." Master Bai chuckled. Even though he knew that the words of others were not true, he was still happy. Who wouldn't be happy when praised? They said that the soup was ready, so they filled a few large buckets and let the soldiers on the ship carry them out. The soldiers who carried the buckets were a little unfamiliar to the chefs in the kitchen. In the past, it was always a fixed soldier who carried the buckets, but today it was changed. After asking, they said that they would continue to change in the future. They couldn't always let a certain group of people do more work. Learning from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan when they were leading the army, in the spirit of sharing weal and woe with the soldiers, the generals of the 40,000 soldiers also ate the same food and were not picky about their food. Actually, there was no excuse to be picky about the food. Was there a need to be picky about the food prepared by the chefs of the Zhang family and Wang family? The food of the generals was the first to be delivered. However, when they suddenly saw the bowl of soup in front of them, they took 2 deep breaths and gritted their teeth. When they broke the bowl, they immediately gulped it down into their stomachs. They didn't touch anything else, otherwise, it would be more troublesome later. Just as the generals tacitly drank the bowl of soup and didn't eat anything else, the chefs on each ship suddenly started to eat again. Master Bai, who had just fed the soldiers prawns, instructed his little disciple beside him. Go and tell the generals not to drink the soup. There was a mistake. Today they should be drinking seafood soup. The ingredients of the soup just now were mixed up. Go quickly. The little disciple didn't know what was going on behind his back. He hurriedly ran out and shouted at the generals who were preparing to eat. When some of the generals heard that there was a better seafood soup, they immediately stopped what they were doing and waited happily. They rolled up the pancakes one by one and prepared to eat them later. Only a small portion of the generals' expressions changed. It was a very small portion, so small that they were only in charge of carrying the food. What soup is different? Even the swill poured by the chefs of the Zhang family and Wang family is better than the signature dishes of ordinary small restaurants. There's no need to spend so much money. Everyone drink. We'll drink this. A person in charge of carrying the food picked up a spoon and began to ladle soup into the bowls of others. The person in charge of delivering the news was anxious. You can't drink it. The master said that the ingredients were mixed up. If you drink it and get sick, he won't care. The people who were prepared to drink the soup boldly began to hesitate. At this time, the person in charge of delivering the news said, "The soup will be ready soon. Wait a moment. There are a lot of prawns in the soup. If you drink the soup now and drink the other soup later, you won't get sick." After the person in charge of delivering the news, everyone stopped what they were doing. Even the people carrying the food didn't continue to insist. They looked at the soup in front of them, sighed, and began to roll up the pancakes like the others. The news quickly reached Kutuyu's ears. When he heard that the soup was changed, he didn't feel anything. When the person in charge of handling the matter came to him and told him about his plan, Kutuyu finally understood. It's bad. Did someone find out? Why didn't you put it in the dish? Kutuyu asked the person in charge of handling the matter. General, I didn't see anyone else. If someone found out, wouldn't they expose it? I also want to put it in the dish, but it's too obvious to put it in the dish. If it's not evenly mixed, it can be found at a glance. If you eat it again, the taste will be different. It's only safe to put it in the soup. The person in charge of handling the matter immediately explained that the croton powder was not colorless and tasteless. Did you drink it? Kutuyu asked again. Yes. If I don't drink it, won't I be suspected? I drank a lot. General, did you drink it too? After the person in charge of handling the matter asked, his expression changed. It was unknown whether the croton powder reacted so quickly or it was just a psychological effect. Anyway, after he finished speaking, he covered his stomach with his hand and said with a bitter face, General, I'll go out first. Let's go together. Kutuyu didn't look good either. When the two of them walked hurriedly to a certain place, Kutuyu seemed to be very unwilling to give up. Have Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and the others eaten? General, you forgot that they eat different dishes from us. They eat better and don't need our people to help them carry the buckets. General, I'll go first. The person in charge of handling the matter gritted his teeth and finally sped up, regardless of the identity of the general. Zhang Xiaobao, who was also eating, knocked the bone marrow out of the bones for his younger brothers and sisters and put one on each person's plate. Seeing his younger brothers and sisters eat happily, he said with a smile, Eat well. If you eat well, you won't get sick easily. Then what if you don't eat well? Will you get sick? Xiaobei, who liked to eat bone marrow the most, looked at the few remaining bones in the plate in front of her brother and then looked at the biggest bone marrow in her plate. She opened her small mouth and took a little bite, smacked her lips and said, That's right. If you don't eat well, you will get sick. For example, that Kutuyu doesn't eat well. When the time comes, he will definitely get sick. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of what happened tonight and was very happy. Xiaobei first looked at her brother doubtfully. She grabbed a bone with one hand and held the wrist of her other hand, otherwise she wouldn't be able to bear the weight of the bone. She nodded and said, Brother said that he will get sick, so he will definitely get sick. I think the bone marrow in this bone tastes better than the one in my plate. Help me take it out and let me compare. Xiao Yuan, who also liked to eat bone marrow, looked at Xiao Bei's actions and pretended to be disdainful, saying, "You're so cunning. What's the point of comparing the taste? You can just say that the remaining bones aren't enough to split between each person, and I'll give them all to you." "I don't think that way. You're measuring the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. Since you reminded me, I'll do as you say. Brother, give me the bone marrow of the other bone too." Xiao Bei had a wronged look on her face, as if everyone had misunderstood her. The few of them were eating noisily when all of a sudden, the generals finally sent someone to look for Zhang Xiaobao. They asked Zhang Xiaobao to send a few doctors over to take a look. It was unknown whether it was because they had caught a cold or because they were not acclimatized to the environment and had a stomachache. If only this could be recorded and let the soldiers know of their plan. "Let's see how they can continue to lead the soldiers," Wang Wan said regretfully. "Yes, even if they find someone to prove it, it won't work. However, they can't expect to lead the soldiers anymore. It's probably because they are not acclimatized to the environment and will need to be treated for a long time. What do you think of 4 months? After all, our doctors aren't gods. Their methods are limited." Zhang Xiaobao also lamented. Thus, the fate of a certain group of people was decided just like that. The doctors went over to take their pulse and then prescribe medicine. After taking the medicine, they would continue to have diarrhea. They would take their pulse again and drink the medicine again. In any case, it was fine as long as they didn't die. The peaceful night passed just like that. Some of the soldiers were discussing the seafood soup from last night. Some people didn't dare to think about that matter. After hearing that the generals' stomachs were all bad, they could only sigh and sigh. A day later, Kuyu still hadn't recovered. A trace of waxy yellow appeared on his ruddy face. There were obvious dark circles around his eyes. "General Kuyu, I wonder if your body is better. I keep feeling that it's not because you are not acclimatized to the environment. Later I will find a few better doctors to come over and take a look at the general. I think it's because of the soup. The others didn't have stomachs. It's because they didn't drink the soup. Wait for me to investigate in detail." Zhang Xiaobao took 2 kinds of fruits and found a cabin where they could stay and said to Li Yundong. Looking at Zhang Xiaobao's eyes, Kuyu suddenly had a feeling that Zhang Xiaobao knew about this matter. Moreover, he was the one who arranged it. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? He usually didn't change the soup but changed it yesterday. And it was changed at such a good time. He had drunk it before. There was definitely no mistake with the soup. Taste was not bad. In addition, all the generals who had diarrhea said that they were not acclimatized to the environment after being examined by different doctors. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? After thinking about it carefully, Kuyu didn't dare to let Zhang Xiaobao investigate. If he wanted to investigate, as long as he checked all the links, he believed that someone would accidentally say it. As a result, he hurriedly advised, "Governor Zhang, you don't have to waste your energy. It's fine as long as the soldiers are fine. I thought it was also because I was not acclimatized to the environment. I am a person who knows my own body well. Doesn't seem like I ate something wrong. Oh, please wait a moment, Governor Zhang. I will be back soon." However, as Tu Yu was speaking, he did not care whether it was rude for him to not accompany Zhang Xiaobao. He clutched his stomach and staggered outside. The sun shone on his forehead, and it was obvious that he was sweating. Zhang Xiaobao fiddled with the teacup on the table and said to the servant standing to the side, "Your general is so pitiful." The servant nodded in agreement but didn't say anything. He also realized that Zhang Xiaobao didn't come here to visit sincerely. Otherwise, how could he have taken the pear? It was obvious that the big white pear had a lot of water in it. Moreover, it was of the cold attribute. Who would dare to eat it? Io. Help me. After a while, Kuyu came back. His footsteps were more and more staggered. He held the doorframe with one hand and clutched his clothes with the other. His voice was trembling. Zhang Xiaobao stood up kindly and helped Kuyu to the couch. He asked with concern, "General Kuyu, why don't you go back to the Songamo Commander-in-Chief's office first and get someone else here? Otherwise, how will you command? Recently, Adjunct Wang has been looking for an opportunity to train and cooperate in battle. General is not here. I don't know if Adjunct Wang can send the orders well. Train. How to train? Kuyu momentarily forgot the pain in his stomach and asked with uncertainty. In battle, you have to listen to one person's orders. Otherwise it will be chaotic. Adjunct Wang originally wanted General Kuyu to be the highest-ranking general. Everyone else will listen to General Kuyu. However, with General's current condition, if you drag your illness and take care of things, you probably won't get better, right? Zhang Xiaobao patiently explained. Kuyu, who wasn't stupid, understood that this was to seize power. Although he wasn't afraid of seizing the real power from today onwards, he reckoned that he would lose the command authority for a period of time. In an instant, Kuyu suddenly regretted. He suddenly realized that things weren't as simple as he thought. He shouldn't have wanted Croton in the first place. Didn't the other party finally find the opportunity? Governor Zhang, this matter isn't urgent. General will get better tomorrow. How about we discuss it again then? Yes, tomorrow. Kuyu didn't want to give up power and said to Zhang Xiaobao with a firm gaze. Chapter 804. The water was still flowing, and the mountains were still beautiful. The fleet was still on its way to the desert. There were no changes to the food. In the morning, there were steamed buns or steamed buns. In the evening, there were 2 vegetarian dishes and 1 meat dish. The night watch had an extra cup of strong wine. The difference was that when they passed by the Jing River, there were many women who came on board. The local brothel offered a lot of money, and they only needed to stay for 3 days. When the time came, they would send someone to send them back. As a result, there were more singing and dancing on the ship, as well as the smiles of the soldiers. When the women came, they were told that they were there to encourage the soldiers who were about to go to the border to kill. There was money to be made, and they felt that the people they needed to serve might stain the battlefield with blood. These brothel women did their best, and they did not forget to accompany the soldiers and encourage them to kill more enemies. Sir, don't be anxious. Let this concubine dance for you again. Tonight this concubine is yours. The voices in the cabin made the expression of Wang Wan, who was standing outside and admiring the night scene with Zhang Xiaobao, very ugly. Zhang Xiaobao, what are you doing? You're actually finding women for them. Do you need to get some drugs? Listen to the voices coming out now. Do women have no place in your heart? Wang Wan really could not bear the unbearable sounds. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan with a strange expression and replied, "Where do I get drugs? What's wrong with finding women? Everyone is happy. Some can get money and some can enjoy gentleness. No matter what, they are still soldiers. They are much better than those weak people. Everyone gets what they need. Don't stare at me. When did I say that women have no place? Why don't we go back to the cabin and not listen or go take a look?" But suddenly he is a good person. He has persisted for so many days. He needs to be nourished. Otherwise it is easy to die on the road. Wang Wan also knew that Zhang Xiaobao was right. This matter had nothing to do with whether women had a place or not. Since they chose this line of work, they should follow the rules. She had never heard of any country or dynasty that could put an end to this. She also knew that if she said anything more, Zhang Xiaobao would question her. Were the officials good people? Can't we talk about it? When that time came, he would really be speechless. The so-called act of attacking someone was just deceiving oneself. The person who was attacking was doing it, so he wouldn't have the confidence to fight back. Just as he was about to follow Zhang Xiaobao's instructions and return to the cabin to rest, the sound of drums came from the cabin where the woman's teasing voice came from. No, it wasn't the sound of drums. It was the sound of someone slapping the table and the deck of the boat. He didn't know how to find it, but it just matched the sound of drums. The only thing missing was the vibration. Then there was the sound of footsteps and someone singing. The wine is in the luminous cup, and the lute urges us to drink. Don't laugh while lying drunk on the battlefield. Since ancient times, how many people have returned from war? This is a poem we secretly came up with, right? Their singing sounds pretty good. Let's go and have a look. Hearing the familiar words, Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao's hand and came to the outside of the cabin. The door of the cabin was only half closed. From this angle they could see the looks of some women. At this time, there were 4 women in the cabin. 2 were slapping the table and the deck of the boat. 1 was holding a hujia and preparing to play it, and the other was dancing and singing. No matter how one looked at the dance, one couldn't see any gentleness in it. It gave people the feeling that it was a man dancing. Especially when the woman was dancing. Her eyes revealed a kind of coldness and biting coldness. This was the first time Wang Wan saw a woman in a brothel. Originally, her impression of such a woman was that kind of woman who accompanied people to drink, accompanied them in their father's arms, and then spread her legs on the bed. Who would have thought that the woman dancing didn't give people the feeling that she was frivolous at all? The dancing woman was turning her body when she suddenly saw a big boy and a big girl outside. She was a little embarrassed and immediately made a mistake in her movements. Let's go, don't look. It's not good to disturb people. Zhang Xiaobao pulled Wang Wan and left. This woman doesn't feel like someone from a brothel. Wang Wan whispered. This is a real brothel woman. Not only does she have to be beautiful, but she also has to know how to play the zither, go, calligraphy and painting. If it was in our time, any one of them would be a talented woman. It's just that our people back then were not good enough and disgraced this reputation. Back then, those who had 1 or 2 points of the current brothel women's level were already celebrities. Zhang Xiaobao explained to Wang Wan. Why are you always mocking people? Wang Wan curled her lips. Can't I tell the truth? Of course not, some things can be done but can't be said. Well, let's go see what can be done but can't be said. I don't know if he is willing to hand over the military power now. If he is still stubbornly holding on, I have already prepared the best wood and linen clothes for him. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The song is singing, the dance is dancing, the night is long without knowing, the joy will be found at dawn. General, accompany me to drink this cup of wine. I wish you victory at the start. A woman sang and danced. When she came near Kutu, she held a cup of wine in her hand. She wanted to lean on him but hesitated, stopped and spoke softly. Suddenly, without her leaning, he leaned against the wall of the boat. He looked at the beautiful woman beside him, then looked at the wine in his cup. He shook his head helplessly and said weakly, "This general appreciates the young lady's good intentions. This general appreciates the young lady's good intentions. Young lady, please rest early." "General, that won't do. The person who found me said that I must satisfy you. At the very least, I want you to enjoy yourself." The woman shook her head vigorously. Her gaze was firm. "I've enjoyed myself to my heart's content. Oh, go and tell the person who brought the girl here that I've been tired these days and will have to rely on Adjunct Wang for many matters in the army. Ask Governor Zhang to have a talk with General Wang about military power." Kutu, whose eyes were deeply sunken, used all his strength to move to the corner. He was afraid that the woman beside him would stick to him. The woman was easy to talk to. She drank the wine herself, got up and walked out while saying to Kutuyu, "Then this concubine will take her leave for now. If the general misses this concubine, send someone to find this concubine and I will come immediately." "Okay, sure. Kutu seemed to have used all his strength to say this sentence. Watching the woman leave, he sighed helplessly. He knocked his head on the deck of the ship, rolled his eyes and opened his mouth to gasp for breath. Kutu finally decided to hand over the military power. It turned out that he had drugged himself. After eating it he had a stomachache. Later a doctor came. From then on he didn't feel well. A few days later, his diarrhea was cured. He had red spots all over his body. When he didn't sleep, he was always in a daze. When he slept, he couldn't fall asleep. When he got rid of the red spots, he couldn't eat them. He was so suffocated that he wished he could die. He was cured again. This time he had another stomachache. If he couldn't figure out what was going on after a few more times, he would really be a fool. Military power, it was all because of military power. He heard that the generals of other prefectures had already handed over their military power. Now they were living comfortably. If he insisted on not handing it over, he could easily die on the way. Zhang Xiaobao, I finally know you. Don't let me get better. Otherwise, I won't let it end. It's so uncomfortable. Someone get me some wine. After lying down for a while, Kutu felt hungry. He sullenly shouted, but only the guards standing guard at the door could hear him. General, you can't drink anymore. If you always rely on wine, you will be finished. The person at the door advised with concern. Today is the last time. As long as I eat, I will vomit. I will be fine tomorrow. Once I hand over my military power, this general will quickly get better. Kutu licked his dry lips and still wanted to drink. General, why don't I take your order and gather the brothers to threaten Zhang Xiaobao? The guard suggested. Then I will die even faster. At that time, Zhang Xiaobao will lock up his doctors and say that their methods are not good enough. When they return, they will be punished. Then he will ask me to find a doctor myself. Tell me, which doctor will dare to treat me? Won't he directly poison me to death? Go give me the wine. Go to the door and welcome Governor Zhang. He should be here soon. Kutu's heart was like a mirror. If it were him, he would do the same. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who originally wanted to come and visit Kutu, suddenly received the news. They looked at each other and laughed at the same time. Xiaobao, are you satisfied now? You almost tormented him to death. Wang Wan felt carefree. She hugged Zhang Xiaobao's arm and laughed. Don't talk nonsense. I am sparing no effort to help General Kutu get better. When did I torment him? He is also a person. Even when he is in pain, he still thinks about the army. He wants to put the lives of countless people in your hands. This is a person with a sense of responsibility. I hope he can get better as soon as possible. My Buddha above, amen. Don't draw a cross anymore. Who draws a cross from the bottom to the top? If you draw it a little lower, it will be inserted into your navel. I know you don't like any religion, even the two parties. But don't show it. Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao and jogged towards a place where they could break through. I like all religions and parties, so I made it a little messy. I believe that a true God can tolerate everything. Those who attack other religions do not truly understand God's intentions. This time, only the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office was not included. We are about to succeed. Yes, it was not annexed. Hurry, I am afraid he can't hold on. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw the skinny Kutu when they were bickering. They talked in the cabin. Without a fourth person knowing, they obtained the official seal of the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. The next day, Kutu's body was much better. At least he could eat some porridge and not continue to vomit. It was said that his heart disease was only cured after he let go of his worries. On the night he recovered, a pigeon flew to the capital. It also brought an order to transfer troops. On it was the seal of Kutu's day. Chapter 805. But Tu Yu would never have thought that Zhang Xiaobao did not want his seal to command the people on the ship, or that his ultimate goal was not only the people on the ship. The letter was first sent to the capital, where Kutuyu's letter to the imperial court was found. All the letters were gathered together, and then someone was found to imitate Kutuyu's handwriting to mobilize the other soldiers of the Song Mo Commandery. As for the generals sent by the other commander-in-chief's manors, those who had a say in the matter would also send fake letters back to mobilize their troops. These troops would be dispersed and sent to various parts of the Great Tang. Li Sun of Xuzhou was assigned 10,000 soldiers from the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's manor, and 5,000 soldiers from the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's manor. He, on the other hand, sent 20,000 soldiers from Xuzhou. A series of methods such as bribery, suppression, roping, and assassination were used. Could be said that there was no big chaos, but there was constant small chaos. It wasn't that there weren't any capable people in the various martial manners, but even if they could tell, they didn't have the strength. This time, the generals that were sent to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were all good at fighting. Their purpose was to learn from Wang Wan's abilities, and at the same time, to act as a strong presence to deter Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao from acting rashly. There were not many people in each commandery. In the beginning, 160,000 people were sent from Jili province, and 40,000 real soldiers were sent away. When they saw the transfer order and the soldiers from other commanderies came, they wanted to object, but they did not have enough strength. Those who strongly objected either suddenly died of illness, or accidentally hit their heads on wood or tiles that fell from high places when they were walking. Some people suddenly became rich, and the things they used were the same as the Tang Empire's ministers. These people were inclined to let the Tang Empire and the Tang Empire's military force exchange. In the name of sending soldiers into the Tang Empire, they could know the Tang people's livelihood, and lead the Tang soldiers into the Tang Empire, so they could know the Tang army's military force. He had seen their battle prowess, but he was not clear about their specific battle prowess. However, the weapons and armor they used were not just a little bit better than those of the martial manner. This was especially true for the soldiers from Xuzhou. Their discipline was so strict that they could be ordered around like an arm. Li Sun actually personally came to the martial manor of Song Mo to take charge. The rest of the people didn't object to the recall of the soldiers, but they didn't agree either. Some said that they were sick and went home to rest. Some felt like they were in a dream all day long. They seemed helpless, but they also seemed to be waiting for the day when the elite soldiers that were sent out returned. None of the generals were aware of these matters, so the news could not be transmitted. Firstly, the fleet was moving too quickly to travel on land, and secondly, the important checkpoints on land were guarded by soldiers. All non-tong-tong fast horses were stopped, and this was even more so on the rivers. When Kutiyu's body was completely healed, and the fleet was only a few days' journey from the shore to the desert, and when he regained his military power, the commander-in-chief's mansions in Hebei province were basically settled. Letters were sent back and forth between the capital and Jili prefecture. When the Bohai commander-in-chief manor sent someone to deliver a letter saying that this autumn, the commander-in-chief manor was willing to pay the taxes of the 5 capitals and 62 prefectures, Li Longji felt like he was in a dream. How could this be? Li Longji shook his head vigorously and confirmed the matter in the letter again. He seemed to be talking to himself. Your Majesty, it's already midsummer. Back then, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo promised Your Majesty that the Bohai commander-in-chief manor would pay the taxes this year, Gao Lisher explained. I know they said it, but what I want to know is not what they said, but why is the Bohai commander-in-chief manor willing to pay? Is it because they said it the reason? Could it be that they said that I can fly in the sky tomorrow and I will also? Oh, I have already flown once. Let's not talk about flying or not. What other methods did they use? They can't be afraid of the Bohai commander-in-chief manor just because Bai sent 10,000 soldiers to the Bohai commander-in-chief manor. There are hundreds of thousands of people there. If they lose 5,000 soldiers, they will have 10,000 more soldiers. They will still have the strength to fight. Li Longji spoke smoothly, but his eyes were full of confusion. How could such a difficult thing be done by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan as if it was a game? That was the Bohai commander-in-chief manor, far away from Jili prefecture. Even if the great Tang wanted to attack, it was too far away. Could it be that he was moved by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's portraits? The 2 children were good-looking, and there were portraits of them since they were young on the wall, but this was definitely not the reason. When Gao Lisher heard the emperor's words, he had an impulse to laugh, but he suppressed it and explained, Your Majesty, of course, it is not Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's words, but they will do what they say. A few days ago, Lu Zhou sent another 20 gunships to the Bohai Bay to fight the pirates. They killed more than 1,100 pirate ships, killed countless pirates, and gave a large amount of silk to the Bohai commander-in-chief manor to help the people who were hurt by the pirates. The Bohai commander-in-chief manor did not only send 5,000 soldiers, but 15,000. The other 10,000 soldiers followed Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to protect the desert near Jinchuan. Your Majesty can think of it this way. The Bohai commander-in-chief manor lost 15,000 soldiers. Although the loss of 5,000 soldiers was too sudden for him, and they were transferred away without his order, it was still too little. How many soldiers could there be in a few 100,000? Their navy and pirate ships were almost no match for the pirates, so Xiao Bao and Cuckoo sent out gunships to help him. I guess the great martial arts commander-in-chief was moved by the selfless help of our heavenly soldiers. Your Majesty, you are very kind. You sent 20 gunships to kill all the navy of the Bohai commander-in-chief manor. No, you wiped out all the pirates. You also gave a lot of silk, which should be collected from the nearby state capital, right? Why didn't I know? Li Longji finally understood. No wonder the great martial arts commander-in-chief, who wanted to fight against the great Tang, suddenly became easy to talk to. They took the initiative to pay the taxes and no longer wanted to establish normal trade with the great Tang. It turned out that it was because of His Majesty's kindness. It was just that when His Majesty's kindness shone, he was not aware of it. Gao Lisher knew that the emperor was not happy. The main problem was not whether the emperor knew the situation over there or not, but that the difficult thing became simple in the hands of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. It was a bit of a blow to the emperor. He hurriedly tried to persuade. Your Majesty, at that time, Your Majesty said that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were fully in charge of the matters in the north of Hebei province. They did not need to report too much and only sent a letter when the imperial court sent troops. Therefore Your Majesty did not know. I only knew about it the day before yesterday. I was afraid that the great martial arts commander-in-chief would not submit a letter to the capital, so I did not directly tell Your Majesty. Your Majesty, it seems simple, but it is not. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo used almost half of the wealth of the Zhang family and the Wang family for this matter. They bribed, roped in, and distributed it to the civilians. In the letter they told me that since they came to Jili province, they slept at most 8 hours a day. They also discussed with me that when the north of Hebei province was settled down, they would help me to ask for more benefits from Your Majesty. This time they lost a lot of money, so I don't know if I should ask for more benefits. Oh, they also suffered a lot. They want to ask for benefits from me. They have occupied a large area in the north of Hebei province. Can't they make up for their losses? Li Longji's heart was balanced. Considering Zhang Xiaobao's ability to make money, he did not think that they could not make up for their losses. Your Majesty means to let the two of them occupy the entire north of Hebei province. It is difficult to go to Hunan province by land. The two of them also have naval gunboats. The whole area is full of mountains and dense forests. When Cuckoo led 10,000 troops to the mountains near Ruoshui in Jinchuan, she played the classic jungle strategy. The strong protection team of the Zhang family and the Wang family can be said to come and go like ghosts in the mountains and forests. Even Li Sun, the Prince of Tang, also has 1,000 troops that are specially suitable for jungle warfare. Your Majesty, are you really going to let Xiao Bao and Cuckoo establish a foothold in the north of Hebei province? Gao Lisher saw that the emperor was a little confused, so he had to analyze the matter and let the emperor sober up and not be carried away by happy things. Li Longji was stunned. Yes, what Lisher said is right. It can be trusted, but it can't be unguarded. What is Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's plan? Do they want to occupy that area? Replying to Your Majesty, Xiao Bao is considering that he can't stay in the north of Hebei province, so he wants to get benefits from other places. He said that in the future there will be dozens of prefectures. Those who are not filial piety will not be sent, those who do not love the people as their own children will not be sent, and those who are not court officials will not be sent. Even if they are sent, they will be changed every 3 years. They will leave their families in the capital, one official and one deputy. The official is a civil official, who is only in charge of civil affairs. The deputy is a military general, who is only in charge of defense. After 3 years, The civil official will be sent there to learn and familiarize himself with the situation there. When the predecessor leaves, the successor will be directly appointed. The same is true for the military general. However, they will not have the right to go there 1 year in advance. In this way, they will not be afraid of rebellion. The navy will be managed by someone else. All the generals and civil officials will have to build roads after they take office. Gao Lishir took out a piece of paper from his bosom and read the words written on it to Li Longji. Li Longji nodded and suddenly asked, "If there is a battle, what should we do if we can't fully understand the soldiers after only 1 year?" "Retreat. If we can't win, come back. The imperial court will then send elite troops to fight. Your Majesty, there is no need to worry that someone will attack there. Whether it is the Turks or Silla, as long as they attack, the capital can send troops to attack from both sides. Besides, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo don't seem to intend to let the Turks and Silla be as free as they are now. It's just that they don't have the time. Your Majesty, the two of them are still young." Gao Lishir revealed a little of the matter that his godson had mentioned. The main reason was that he had received a map. This map did not look like the current map of the Great Tang. It was much larger than the current one, even though the words "Map of the Great Tang" were written on it. Li Longji finally recovered from the emotions in the letter from the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's office. Having become smarter, he immediately understood the meaning in Gao Lishir's words. The two of them still want to fight. If they keep fighting, they'll die. It doesn't seem like many people will die. The side that dies the most is the other side. Did the two of them mention anything about benefits? They didn't say. If Xiao Bao did, "Your Majesty, you will definitely." Gao Lishir stuttered and did not finish his sentence. Li Longji understood. If Xiao Bao mentioned benefits at this time, he should think of a way to stop him. He could not let him easily achieve his goal. He did not believe that he would lose every time. "Lishir, find some time to write a letter to the two of them. Tell them that I said that if they don't want any benefits, I will exempt their family from 3 years of tax. If they don't want to be exempt from tax, they will have to rely on their own abilities." Li Longji basically wanted to directly say that they would have to rely on their own abilities. However, after thinking carefully, if that was the case, it would be unfair to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. They had cleaned up such a large area. If they won this time, they would really suffer a loss. If they were angry and stopped playing, he would lose a kind of fun, although his chances of winning were not that big. Your subject obeys. What else could Gao Lishir say? He could only agree. He did not understand why the emperor was so free. He was usually very nice, but when it came to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, he had to lower himself to the children's level. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also received the news from Shui Yun. There was a small chaos in the north of Hebei province. De Wuxia of Bohai Commandery had been tormented. Whether he really submitted or not, as long as he acknowledged the position once, they would have an excuse to beat him up if he did not want to do it in the future. Was the relationship of sovereignty something that could be casually acknowledged? "Xiao Bao, you can send a letter to Chai Zuzan of Tubo. Ask him to send troops to help fight Duo Shi. I won't even ask if he is supporting Duo Shi. Let's see if he will send troops or not." Wang Wan saw that the matter in Jili province was more or less settled. She began to make a move against Tubo again. Zhang Xiaobao immediately wrote a letter to ask Chai Zuzan to send troops to eliminate the bandits Duo Shi. News came that the Duo Shi in the desert continued to increase their troops. Originally, there were only 100 people left. Now there were 2,000 people. Their weapons were also stronger than before. Everyone was given a horse. Furthermore, they did not continue to attack the Haloxylon ammonite trees. Instead, they set up camp. It seemed like they were preparing for a big move. Until now, it was still impossible to guess which side was supporting them. If it was supporting them, it was possible that it was from either side. The supplies for the 2,000 people had always been sent by the Duo Shi to the two places to exchange for other things. As for whether they used things worth 1 copper coin to exchange for supplies worth 1 copper coin, it was not clear. If they could get news of the exchange, they would know that whoever exchanged with the duoshur was the one supporting them. Then, it would be impossible not to fight. They had more than 40,000 people. If they did not consume some, how could they train their troops? After the letter was written, he asked someone to send it to Tubo at the fastest speed. Zhang Xiaobao called Kutuyu and the other generals over to discuss the matters of the upcoming battle. That's how it is. Let's see if Tubo will send people or not. When the time comes, we may fight with the Tujue or Tubo. Everyone should be prepared. Zhang Xiaobao told them about the letter he had written to the Tubo Zuzan, which could be considered as a pre-war mobilization. Some of the generals only knew how to fight and were slower to react. They did not understand the meaning behind it and left to find their own troops. Some of them had a calm expression on the surface, but their hearts were in turmoil. Kutuyu was one of them. After leaving the cabin where Zhang Xiaobao was having a meeting, he did not look for his own troops. Instead, he returned to his own cabin and started to think about things. General, are we really going to help Zhang Xiaobao and the others fight? If we only fight Tubo, it is fine. If we fight the Tujue, our Songma commander-in-chief's manor will be easily targeted by the Tujue. An advisor who had also returned asked Kutuyu worriedly. Fight. No matter who we fight, we have to fight. If we don't fight the Tujue, Zhang Xiaobao will fight us. They are forcing us to do something beyond our ability. But Tuyu didn't hesitate at all and immediately expressed his attitude. General, do they dare? The advisor still did not wish to fight the Tujue. What is there that they don't dare to do? This time, he wrote a letter to Tubo and asked them to send troops. It sounded simple, but it was not the case at all. If Tubo sent troops, they would offend Polishur. They were afraid that Tubo would support Polishur. At that time, Polishur would feel that they were cheated and would take revenge on Tubo. If Tubo did not send troops, it would be even simpler. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Rong could announce that Jinchuan and Ruoshui did not belong to Tubo. Otherwise, why would they not send troops? Then, they would use Tubo's unilateral destruction of friendship as an excuse to stop the food exchange with Tubo. It was summer now, and Tubo was lacking in food. If Tubo could not help but send troops to attack Zhang Xiaobao, that would be even better. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would directly send troops to attack Tubo. Furthermore, they would not use Great Tang's people. If they died, they would not feel any heartache. They would let us attack head-on and disregard the losses. Wang Wan would then lead the elite troops and fight for thousands of miles. Tubo would be completely destroyed. Even if all of our people died and we did not win against Tubo this time, Great Tang would use this opportunity to send troops again. Would Tubo still have people to fight? This is called strategy. We should not have let the two of them go to Jili province. It would have been good if we did not force Li Longji like that. We finally forced him into a corner. Sigh. However, he suddenly regretted it. He finally saw how powerful Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were. These two people were the treasured swords in Li Longji's hands. They were the kind of swords that would definitely see blood when they were unsheathed. After the 40,000 people walked for a few days on the shore, when they were still 2 days away from the desert, Zuzan Chide of Tubo also received a letter sent by Zhang Xiaobao. He read it again and again, and the more he read, the more worried he became. Who came up with the idea to dig a hole in Wangjiang County in Suzhou? Investigate again. Those who are lucky enough to survive, capture them and kill them. Zuzan Chide stayed in the palace of Princess Li Nunu of Jincheng and gave an order to the people waiting at the side. This order was baffling. Why did Zuzan Chide remember it after such a long time? Princess Jincheng did not see the letter. She was a Tang person, but she could not do anything about the affairs of both sides, let alone put in much effort. When she heard Zuzan Chide's order, she went closer and advised. Zuzan Chide, if you kill more people, I'm afraid it will chill the hearts of the people. If I don't kill them, I won't be able to appease the hatred in my heart. If not for the person who came up with the idea and made the move, Why would Wang Wan come to attack us? If not for them, why would we allow them to stir up the economy of Jiannan Circuit? If not, why would Zhang Xiaobao take revenge? Now they are here again, and this time they are even more powerful than before. It's an army of 40,000. Should we fight or not? Since Zhu Zhenchide could not find trouble with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he could only find fault with his own people. Chapter 806. After hesitating for a while, Zhu Zan still agreed to send troops. However, he wasn't stupid. He sent the troops, but he sent the logisticians. He said that Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang came from afar, and it was inconvenient for them to get supplies. Thus, Tubo was willing to send the little bit of provisions over as reinforcements. He also thanked Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang for helping Tubo fight against foreign enemies. The letter was filled with grievances, saying that the people of Tubo did not have enough to eat or wear, saying that the soldiers of Tubo were so thin that they were just skin and bones, saying that the number of livestock in Tubo had decreased sharply, and countless children were crying piteously for food. After reading the letter, it was hard for people not to cry. Tubo was really not easy. But even in such a difficult time, other than sending logisticians, Zhu Zan also specially prepared a big gift for Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang. 100 yaks, both male and female. If it was at the start, Zhu Zan would only care about Wang Wan. After all, Wang Wan's battle prowess was the most direct. But now he was more afraid of Zhang Xiaobao. Wang Wan's viciousness was nothing more than mountains of corpses and rivers of blood. But as long as there were people around, they would be able to restrain this demon. Zhang Xiaobao was different. When he fought, he was like a ghost. He would use all kinds of sinister moves. What was weak was the will of the people. After 2 years of torment, when he wanted to attack Tang Empire, the first thing he was afraid of was not the generals, but the ordinary civilians. Even the slaves didn't want to provoke them. Psych! Let's do it this way. When we exchange with the duo people, let people pretend to be bandits and kill them. We can't let the two of them get a hold of us. Nu, how are you these few days? After Zhu Zan arranged everything, he gently hugged Princess Jincheng's waist and asked with concern. Princess Jincheng also nodded gently and said, Zanpu is good to me, so I'm naturally doing well. Zanpu has been tired for many days. Let me serve him and rest. Princess Jincheng was very conflicted in her heart. Her position was rather awkward. She hoped that Tubo and Great Tang would have a good relationship, but she knew that it was impossible. When she came here, she was nothing more than a tool. One of the people she was supposed to be betrothed to died, so she couldn't go back. She had to marry another one. In the beginning, he did not have a good life. Because of his identity, it was impossible for him not to be ostracized. However, ever since Wang Wan led the army to war, his life became better day by day. No one in Tubo dared to disrespect him anymore. Even Zanpu had to give in to him a little. Now that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were once again in Tubo territory, the house they lived in was renovated again and again. Their daily necessities were also several times more than what the others had. Perhaps this was what Zhang Xiaobao had said at Pengzhou Pass, that weak countries had no diplomacy. It was said that the villagers of the Zhang and Wang families were treated with respect by outsiders, and no one dared to frame or bully them. He was a villager of the Great Tang. The stronger the master, the more comfortable his life would be. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't have the mood to care about Princess Jincheng. According to the saying, a married lady was like spilled water. They couldn't find Princess Jincheng and tell her to go back to Tang Empire and not play with Zhu Zanqi anymore. From now on, as long as I'm alive, I won't allow Tang Empire to use women to seek a moment of peace. This is a disgrace to you men. Wang Wan received Zhu Zanqi's letter and gift. At the same time, she also received a letter from Princess Jincheng. In the letter, she asked about some things in Tang Empire. She also said that she had a good life in Tubo. Everyone gave in to her and she didn't have to worry about food and drink. When she wanted to play, she could go out with a group of people protecting her. The letter was right, but Wang Wan could tell that Princess Jincheng missed Tang Empire. So, she solemnly swore an oath and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. "Why are you looking at me? I didn't ask her to get married." At the very least, these married women can reduce the number of deaths in Tang Empire. Also, it can promote the integration of the different races and leave a deep mark in history, causing the various races to, "Alright, stop acting like a historian. Aren't you being hypocritical? Zhu Zanqi is really a scammer. Yaks are good things, but is he stupid? Is there a need to turn 100 yaks into 50 males and 50 females? Men know how to find a few more women. Why must the yaks be monogamous? He did it on purpose. If not, the more females there are, the faster the reproduction rate. Also, we can't bring the yaks back to the capital to raise. They won't be able to acclimatize to the environment. Let's just leave them here. We still have to tell Li Longji that we are raising these 100 yaks together with him. Next year we can cut some of their hair to make blankets for him. Then we can pick a male yak that can be killed and let him taste it." Wang Wan didn't wait for Zhang Xiaobao to finish his words and interrupted him. She started to worry about the yaks. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly realized that he couldn't keep up with Wang Wan's thoughts. The yaks don't seem to be important. What's more important is Zhu Zanqi's reaction. It seems that they are really related to the polycannibals. Otherwise, why would they only send logisticians? How can Tubo's logisticians be compared to our logisticians? I have decided to stay here for at least 3 months and at most half a year. I can't wait any longer. There are still many places that need to be occupied. I can't play with the surrounding small countries. We have to deal with the Tujue and Tubo as soon as possible. We can use them to raise cattle and sheep, and also use them as a springboard to deal with the north of Hebei province. They have sent out a total of 40,000 soldiers. We can use them to suppress the Tubo and Tujue. When they can't suppress the Tubo and Tujue anymore, we can ask the commander-in-chief to send more soldiers. If we don't agree, we will destroy our friendship. If we agree, we will conserve our strength. What about the imperial court? Your father is going to enter the capital soon. Zhang Shua hasn't made any moves yet. Li Linfu's position has changed slightly. Wang Maozhong and Gu Fushun are still related by marriage. You have to act quickly. I don't want to be caught in the political whirlpool again. Wang Wan didn't object to Zhang Xiaobao's plan of using troops, which meant that she agreed. She changed the topic and returned to the imperial court. It's still early. Let's talk about it later. The most important thing now is to get in touch with the polycannibals. It wasn't easy for them to come here. Wouldn't it be a pity to kill them casually? While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy with the big plan, Xiaobei and the other kids couldn't sit still and were busy with the small plan. 100 guards in their teens received the order and began to make kites. They went to the mountains to find branches, paper, and gunpowder. To be precise, they threw cannons. Can this wind really blow over there tomorrow? How dare they cut down my haloxylon tree? I think they ate a bear's heart and swallowed a leopard's gall. Xiaobei put his finger in his mouth and took it out to feel the wind. He muttered angrily. Chapter 807. The wind changed direction before dawn, blowing towards the Duo Eater's camp. The person who reported the weather for Xiaobei and the others received a silver coin. It was a silver coin that was popular among Xiaobei and the others. If the person who received it couldn't buy the products of Xiaobei and the others, they could use the silver coin to make jewelry for their children. With the wind, a sunny day was the best time to fly a kite. More than 100 children ignored the dust in the desert and carefully flew the kites one by one. Release! Xiaobei shouted. The ropes in the hands of 3 young guards broke one after another. The 3 kites in the sky flew freely towards the Duo Eater's camp. They descended in the air and finally landed a few dozen feet away from the Duo Eater's camp. The older brother immediately calculated the height of the kites. Under the condition that the wind speed didn't change, Some of the kite strings were retracted, while some were released. "Second brother, will it work?" Xiao Bei asked uncertainly. Xiao Hai smacked his lips twice. It should work, right? I've calculated it before. I'll trust you this time. Prepare the child kites. Xiao Bei selectively believed in his older brother's calculation skills and shouted to the other guards. The young guard immediately picked up the child kite even more cautiously. Originally, the child kite would fall from the mother kite after the child kite followed the string and hit the mother kite. This time a magnet was used. Not only would the child kite not close, but it would stick to the mother kite. More than 100 kite strings hung on the kites and flew upwards against the wind. When they reached the peak, Xiao Bei gave another command, and all the kite strings were cut. They floated down towards the man-eater's camp. The final result proved that no matter how talented a child was, it was impossible to accurately calculate the landing point of the kites. The fine structure of each kite, the changes in wind speed, the relationship between buoyancy and gravity, let alone Xiao Hai, even Wang Wan, a genius student like her, wouldn't be able to calculate the final result. More than 100 kites fell everywhere. Some of them didn't have any reaction after landing, while some burst into flames. Even so, Xiao Bei's plan could be considered a success. Nearly 40 kites landed on the duo's tents. With the impact, most of them burst into flames. Coupled with the oil and cotton that the kites carried, the flames grew bigger with the help of the wind. By the time the cannibals reacted and wanted to put out the fire, it was already too late. All the tents that were set on fire by the kites were turned into piles of fire, and dozens of people were even burned. Who asked you to chop down my haloxylon shuttle tree? Without the haloxylon shuttle tree, I wouldn't have the desert sistanch. Without the desert sistanch, I would have one less dish. My next move is called Dancing Fire Phoenix. When Xiao Bei saw the scene of the fire through his 1,000-mile vision, he waved his little fists in celebration. The shouts of the duo eater came from afar. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had just woken up and were about to eat, came out to take a look in surprise. They thought that the duo eater had gone crazy and wanted to attack them with only 2,000 people. What's going on? Zhang Xiaobao didn't need binoculars to see that the duo eaters were living a prosperous life. Someone immediately came over. "Young master, it's Xiao Bei and the others who set fire to the duo eaters' tents. It's estimated that at least 1/5 of the tents have been burned. If we don't put out the fire quickly, more will be burned when the wind blows." "Who?" "Xiao Bei." "Who ran over with her?" Zhang Xiaobao didn't understand. "Little young master, no one is going. This subordinate has already told the two of you the day before yesterday. Little Miss Xiao Bei and the others want to make kites, throw cannons, oil and cotton. Didn't the two of you already know?" The person who replied seemed very wronged. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and nodded numbly. Yes, they knew. Both of them knew, but who would have thought that Xiao Bei and the others wanted to burn the duo eaters' tents? Usually they like to make small things for fun. They always wanted something but not a lot. Occasionally they could make some interesting gadgets. For example, an automatic slingshot. When a slingshot was made, the slingshot would be pulled by the rotating force of the windmill. After a certain extent, the slingshot would hit a thimble and fall. On the other side, a small stone would fall on the slingshot and be shot out by the slingshot. Sometimes, if the small stone didn't fall well, they would use many small stones to fall one after another. When they were shot out, it would be very inaccurate. Another example was an automatic fishing rod. When the fishing rod was put into the water, it wouldn't float. Only a line was stretched on the head of the fishing rod. If a fish pulled the fishing rod and it floated a lot, the other side of the line would pull the fishing rod up. Although the accuracy rate was very low and although it wasn't practical, it was indeed a small invention. Compared to the things they made before, this kite is much more practical. We should give it a name. It should be called. Xiao Bei said it's called the Flying Fire Phoenix. The person who replied interrupted. Good name. Let's go to the front and welcome the distinguished guests from afar. Wang Wan saw that there were people in front of them and praised the name. She and Zhang Xiaobao went forward to welcome them. As for whether the trouble caused by Xiao Bei and the others was a disaster or not, that was secondary. Was it easy for children to die? Burning your camp with something that they had painstakingly invented was giving you face. You should feel honored. The duo eaters came. There weren't many of them, only 7 people. One of them was the leader. They probably knew that it was useless to have more people. They might even be beaten up. Only 7 people came to reason with them. The leader had learned the language of the Tang Empire. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he knew that they were the real deal. I am from the Duo Eaters Empire, he said a long name. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't remember it. They only remembered the key name, Lard. This was the name of the Duo Eaters in front of them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't want to know about his father, grandfather, great-grandfather and so on. So it's Lard. Why did you destroy our haloxylon shuttle trees? Now you want to use the fire as a signal to gather people to attack our defenseless kind merchants. Zhang Xiaobao questioned Lard with a sullen face. This was Lard's first time dealing with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He had heard about them before and had even seen their faces in pictures. According to the rumors, they were very unreasonable. Now that he saw them, he knew that the rumors were not as good as meeting them in person. The flaming kite clearly flew over from here. As soon as they touched it, they made a preemptive strike. Who would use the fire as a signal to burn his beard and clothes? Didn't they see that he was still black? You burned our camp. We didn't touch your haloxylon shuttle trees. You used despicable means to burn our camp. Lard retorted loudly. We used despicable means to burn your camp. I don't know what you're thinking. I deny it. You are insulting us. We love peace and won't use despicable means. Even if we use kind means, we won't just burn a small part of your camp. If you don't believe me, I'll let you know tonight. Zhang Xiaobao resisted and threatened with an aggrieved expression. Lard had not personally experienced Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's fear, but that didn't mean that he hadn't heard of it. When he heard that Zhang Xiaobao was going to make a move tonight, he felt uncertain and unwilling to let it end like this. He took an unlit kite from the hands of the people behind him and said, "You used this thing to burn our camp. It's called a kite, I know." Did someone fly a kite? Zhang Xiaobao turned around and asked. In reply to the young master, Xiao Bei and the ladies just did. Go find them. After a while, Xiao Bei, who was still excited from her victory, skipped over. Xiao Bei, did you bully the duo eaters? Look at how you bullied them. Look at this Lard. How did you bully him? Lard, this is the person who flew the kite. You can ask her. Zhang Xiaobao carried Xiao Bei in front of Lard and lectured her, then changed the subject of Lard's reasoning. Lard was already dumbfounded. He looked at Xiao Bei's appearance and listened to Zhang Xiaobao's lecture. He used his hand to measure Xiao Bei's height, then squatted down helplessly and forced a smile at Xiao Bei. Little girl, were you the one who burned our camp? No, why would I burn down your campsite? Xiao Bei blinked innocently and shook his head vigorously. Then were you the one who flew the kite? Lard took the kite and asked. Yes, I was the one who flew the kites. I flew a lot of them. Did you see them? Xiao Bei nodded and admitted. That's right. The kite burned our camp. You were the one who flew the kite, so we should look for you. Lard's face turned red when he said this. Xiao Bei didn't admit it at all. I flew the kite, but I didn't let the kite burn your camp. If the kite burned your camp, you should look for the kite. Why are you looking for me? You really can't change your mind. You were the one who flew the kite. But I didn't burn your camp. The kite burned my camp. Then go look for the kite. But you were the one who flew the kite in my camp. Are you an idiot? I flew the kite, but I didn't burn your camp. If the kite burned your camp, it's useless for you to look for me. Oh, understand. Are you saying that I'm not allowed to fly the kite? Are you not going to care if I eat or sleep? I don't care if you eat or sleep. I don't care if you fly the kite, but the kite you flew burned my camp. I only flew the kite. I didn't burn your camp. It was the kite that burned it. It's like you picked a poisonous mushroom and threw it away. I picked it up and ate it. If I get poisoned, can I look for you and tell you that you shouldn't have picked that mushroom? You can't say that. Where's my camp? The kite burned it. I'm so angry. Brother, I'm not going to talk to him anymore. He's so stupid. Xiao Bei looked very helpless. She looked at Lard with a look that said, "You should take medicine." Then she turned around and said something to Zhang Xiaobao. She didn't care about Lard anymore and skipped away. "Young Master Zhang, what do you think?" "The kite burned it," Zhang Xiaobao admitted. Chapter 808. Lard staggered out of the great Tang merchant's camp, his expression quite unsightly. Even the 7 people who came with him were filled with longing and longing. Their purpose of coming here was not to obtain any benefits from Zhang Xiaobao. They just wanted to understand Zhang Xiaobao as much as possible so that they could make use of him in the future. No matter if Zhang Xiaobao was angry or weak in front of them, they would be able to grasp a bit of Zhang Xiaobao's personality. However, they had evidently miscalculated. Zhang Xiaobao acted as if it had nothing to do with him and pushed a 5-year-old child to the front. This 5-year-old child did not seem like someone who had taught her what to say, and the conversation seemed to have come up on the spot. Listening to a 5-year-old Xiaobao talk about the relationship between the person who flew the kite and the kite made one feel a bit dazed. If it was an adult, one would be able to speak properly, but how could one explain clearly to a 5-year-old child? Everything is strange. The people from Great Qin's Zhang family and Wang family can't be judged by common sense. When Lard returned to the camp and saw some people throwing away the cannons on the kites, he concluded, "Are we going to fight or not? We can't just let them harm us once and pretend that nothing happened," a person whose beard had been burned whispered to Lard. After asking this question, he immediately shut his mouth and lowered his head to continue dismantling the kites that were not burning. He suddenly realized that he should not have asked. The other side had an army of 40,000 or so, and this did not include the slave army. With his 2,000 or so people, they would be able to return to the embrace of Allah if they charged over. Lard did not have the time to scold others for being unwise. He was still worried about the current situation. If Great Qin's people really wanted to destroy his people, they would not need to send soldiers from so far away. With 130,000 people, they would be able to crush his people into pieces with just a pinch. Lard's mission was to set up a camp here, and it would be best if he could communicate with the various factions and make them acknowledge his position. This would allow him to trade with Great Qin. Great Qin had beautiful silk, beautiful ceramics, and even tea leaves that people would get used to after drinking them. A small amount of these things had already flowed into Zhao Fu's side, and they were incredibly valuable. If they could stabilize, then. It was a pity that recently, for some reason, Great Qin's emperor, who had always been very open-minded, had actually sealed off all of the checkpoints, not allowing merchants to bring out things that were considered ordinary to Great Qin but were good things to Great Qin. There were simply too few goods shipped out through Tubo and Turkic Khaganate. More importantly, the prices were much higher than in the Great Qin Empire. After seeing how the Tibetans were constantly harassing Great Qin did not do anything too excessive and even opened up more channels of communication. As such, Zhao Fu decided to learn from Great Qin and send people to burn the haloxylon shuttle trees that Great Qin's people had planted in the desert. Zhao Fu had thought that Great Qin's merchants would give up a portion of their profits for peace. However, after making a move, he found that things were not as they had expected. The people here were not willing to compromise at all. Now he knew that the so-called Chamber of Commerce was not a simple trading team. The power behind them was frighteningly big. They actually brought over 40,000 soldiers from such a long distance and didn't fight, but just set up camp. What was their purpose? Or rather, what kind of goal did he want to achieve? 2000 or so people aren't worth me making a move. Once we destroy them, we won't have any excuse to stay here. Xiaobao, help me think of a way to drag in the Turks and Tubo. In about half a month, Kutuyu will receive news from the northern region of Hebei province. Back then, we took their seals to give them the misconception that we were trying to rope in their people. We did that, and a small portion of them agreed to come with us after the battle. If Kutuyu finds out that he's going to be a figurehead, he might suddenly turn against us. I don't want any of my people to die, so give me an idea. Wang Wan was quite surprised at how smart Xiao Bei and the others were, and she started to think of a strategy. In terms of scheming and plotting, she trusted Zhang Xiaobao more. Zhang Xiaobao was flipping through his account book. He had spent a lot of money on this trip, and he could not just put in effort and not receive anything in return. When he heard Wang Wan's question, he stopped what he was doing and walked out of the tent. Looking at the sun that was about to reach the middle of the sky, he felt a little dizzy and finally thought of a solution. Tonight, arrange for our people to secretly burn a portion of the haloxylon amandendron trees and say that there are bandits hiding in the depths of the desert. Let Kutuyu and the others lead 40,000 people in pursuit. At that time it will be impossible for the people outside to pass the news to them. Will they believe it? I don't care if they believe it or not. If I say there is, then there is. When they enter the desert, take the money to buy a large amount of livestock from the Turks and Tubo for supplies. They lack food but they don't lack livestock. With Kutuyu's army in charge of cleaning up the wolves and other possible dangers, our people will enter the desert to collect useful resources and plant trees. There is strength in numbers. That's good. If the Turks and Tubo don't sell, understand. If they don't sell to us, we will seal off the trade route between them and the Great Tang and not trade with them. There are still tens of thousands of strings of coins here. If there is no other way, we can buy them on credit first. Wang Wan followed Zhang Xiaobao's train of thought and said. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand and said, "Who will give them copper coins? Take out the printed money and give it to them. When the time comes, they will go to the Great Tang to spend it. We will not go back on our words and promote the circulation of paper money. As long as they acknowledge the status of paper money and are willing to accept paper money when they sell things in the future, the people will be able to get used to our paper money faster." Zhang Xiaobao was not willing to separate this matter and had to connect with other parties. Then let's burn it. Let's go and take a look at Xiao Bei and the others. Don't let them hurt themselves. Wang Wan had a load off her mind. Thinking about the matter of Xiao Bei and lard not long ago, a smile appeared on her face and she walked out. Let me summarize this matter. Not all of the kites were burned. Remember this lesson. The operation can be considered a success. Next, I will talk about the battle with the person whose beard was burned off. At that time I was thinking. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came over, Xiao Bei was like a little adult giving a post-battle summary. However, all the generals were clearly absent-minded and looked like they were about to fall asleep. Xiao Bei, aren't you sleepy? You have already summarized it 3 times. I know you are good. Let us go to sleep. Xiao Yuan lowered her head and recited the book of songs. Seeing that Xiao Bei was still saying what she had already said twice, she could not take it anymore and interrupted. Xiao Bei was about to say something interesting when she was suddenly interrupted by Xiao Yuan. She said angrily, "So what if it's 3 times? Reviewing the past and learning the new. For information that can help us, let alone 3 times, even if it's 30 times or even 300 times, we still have to treat it seriously." Where was I just now? Yes, I was talking about when I faced lard. At that time you guys don't know, but this is what I did. Xiao Yuan repeated again. You were very quick-witted at that time. Through your unique logic you made lard speechless. Also, Xiao Bei, let me go next time. I promise I won't repeat this nonsense again and again. It's almost time for lunch. In order to get rid of this situation as soon as possible, Xiao Yuan praised Xiao Bei as quickly as she could. In the end, she strongly requested, "Let's go back. Don't worry about them. It seems that Xiao Bei has the talent to be a politician." Zhang Xiaobao watched the group of people having a meeting and did not disturb them anymore. He walked away with Wang Wan. That night, a patch of haloxylon amandendron trees in the north furthest away from the camp suddenly burst into red flames. Amidst the shouts and chaotic footsteps, the news that bandits had ambushed the haloxylon amandendron trees spread. Some people confirmed that the bandits had run into the depths of the desert after the ambush. Wang Wan mobilized the army that very night, splitting it into 5 groups and charging into the depths of the desert to surround the bandits. But even though Tu Yu and the other generals clearly knew that something was wrong, they did not dare to directly jump out to oppose. They could only follow the army into the desert. 2 days later, it was impossible to find any trace of the 40,000-some people outside. At the same time that the army entered the desert, Zhang Xiaobao sent 2 letters to the Tubo and Tujue. He also had the people who delivered the letters bring paper money, wanting to directly buy livestock. On a warm afternoon in the northern part of Hebei province, Li Sun received a letter. He found a clerk in the army and wrote one notice after another, sticking it up in the most bustling part of the Song-Mo commander-in-chief's office. The locals all gathered around to watch the excitement, listening to the literate people explain the contents of the notice. The notice says that a lot of wild beasts have suddenly appeared in the northern part of the capital, harming pedestrians. They heard that the people here are good at hunting, so they want to find 1,000 hunters to go there and stay there permanently. They can bring their families. Every month, even if there is no big game, they will give each hunter 200 copper coins. If they catch some game, they will give more. After arriving there, all the women in their families will also find work for them. The children in their families can go to school to learn to read without spending money. We only need 1,000 people. Those who want to go quickly prepare. If there are enough people, we will not need them. The literate people enjoyed this kind of moment. Seeing the adoring look of the people around them, they felt a sense of accomplishment. The common people here did not have time to consider the degree of accomplishment of the literate people. Seeing this kind of opportunity, they hurried back home, wanting to participate. The same thing happened in various commander-in-chief's offices in the northern part of Hebei province. Some were in the capital, some were in Luoyang. The requirements of each place were slightly different, but they all met the characteristics of the local people, so the treatment was also very high. Chapter 809. The people in the northern Hebei province's commander-in-chief mansions were carrying out a vigorous immigration movement. Large tracts of land were left idle. As long as people had a little skill, they would not refuse to work outside. Not only was the income high, but more importantly, their children could go to school to study. In the local area, as long as they were not particularly rich, ordinary rich families could not find a suitable teacher to teach their children. This is it for my life. The rest is up to the children. A man who knew how to hunt tied a dozen complete skins into a big bag and carried it on his back. He also carried a carrying pole on his shoulder. There was a basket in front of him and a basket in front of him. In the basket in front of him was a 2-year-old boy, and behind him was a girl less than a year old. Beside him was a girl less than 10 years old and a boy about 6 years old. Their eyes showed confusion and a trace of excitement. They followed another woman and walked towards Jili province. When the woman heard the man's words, she looked determined. She tidied up the bag on her back and touched the man's bow on her left shoulder. She picked up a bamboo basket with her right hand and said to the 6-year-old boy who was confused about the future, "When we get there, don't make trouble. You have to learn well. If others bully you, you have to endure it. This time your father will fight for you." Even if a 6-year-old child knew something, he did not know much. He was not like Xiaobei and the others who had been educated since they were in their mother's womb. Hearing his mother's words, he nodded with empty eyes. "Is it true that if I go to school I will get candy? I heard that there are schools in both Zhang family and Wang family. Where is sister?" The little boy looked at his sister who was walking on the other side. The girl was full of hope. She looked at her mother and then at her father. Seeing that they did not look at her, she lowered her head regretfully. Girls who were not from rich families were not allowed to learn to read. After all, they would belong to other families in the future. It was not worth it to spend money. When the girl was younger, she understood that the family belonged to her two younger brothers. After walking for a while, the man with the carrying pole finally spoke. I heard that both men and women are required to go to school. If you learn well, you will be rewarded. Eldest daughter, go to school for a month first. If there is a reward, go to school. You don't have to go home to work. Oh, I can go to school with my sister. Sister, you must study hard. The boy immediately cheered up. The girl didn't say anything. She changed the position of the bag on her shoulder and pursed her lips. Her eyes showed that she was going to fight for her life. This type of scene played out everywhere. Every province could send out 1,000 people, each family's relatives. The groups that gradually gathered together became more and more vast. When those in power saw this situation, they didn't dare to stop him, but they also couldn't bear to let him go. They could only grieve in their hearts. It was impossible for the people in the capital not to know about such a big thing happening in the north of Hebei province. Not only did they know about it, but there were also people in the capital who were pushing it behind the scenes, and the biggest one was the Emperor Li Longji. After seeing the news from the other side, while the weather was not cold yet, he ran to the newly built unsinkable lake with Gao Lisher and said to Gao Lisher, after a group of people with some skills come here, we should find a way to let other people migrate to other places. What do you think about the empty land? For the first time, Gao Lisher didn't have to worry about sinking when he swam. He was feeling very comfortable. When he heard the emperor's words, he looked at the white clouds floating in the sky. After thinking for a while, he replied, Your Majesty, when the land is empty, there will naturally be people who want to occupy it. However, there is only land and no people. Presumably, they will have to move in from other places. Your Majesty must prevent people from forcing people to move. Lisher, what do you think will happen if we let Xiao Bao and Cuckoo find a way to find people from other places? Li Longji was a little reluctant to give up good places and wanted to take all of them. Absolutely not. If the two of them look for people from other places, who will they listen to? Naturally, the commander-in-chief of the various commander-in-chief manors have no power, and it is not good for Xiao Bao and Xiao Bao to have too much power. I hope your Majesty will reconsider. This subject has heard Xiao Bao say that if we occupy that piece of land, the rice produced will taste better, and the beans produced will be able to be squeezed out more oil. Why don't we put it aside for now and wait for the two of them to return before we discuss? Gao Lisher objected to letting Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan reach out their hands. This would be good for both Tang and Zhang Xiaobao. After a while, Li Longji leisurely said, There are still not enough people. Find more people to study in day medical school. I want to let every child in Tang live. Xiaobao, our population is getting bigger and bigger. Where should we put them? I'm not willing to return to Great Tang, but it's a waste of labor here. Give me an idea. Wang Wan was also worried about the population, but unlike Li Longji, she was worried about not having a place to settle them. This time, Zhang Xiaobao's plan was to take over at least 100,000 slaves, regardless of whether they were from Tufan or Turkic Khaganate. Let's put them in Heilongjiang. Li Longji can't manage that place. We should protect the environment first. I've been there before, and it's too hard to find wild animals there. They even ate animals from the zoo. Now that place is really good. After we go there, we can gather all the tribes there. In the future, there won't be any Soviet Union or Russia. Zhang Xiaobao was thinking long-term. You've done that kind of thing before. How can you bear to eat cute animals from the zoo? They're already pitiful enough. Wang Wan stared at Zhang Xiaobao's words. I didn't want to eat them. It was the local officials who purposely arranged for me to eat them. Don't blame me. Tufan and Turkic Khaganate haven't replied to say whether they want to sell their livestock or not. I'm just urging them. Consider it an ultimatum. Zhang Xiaobao denied Wang Wan's words. He picked up his brush and started to write another letter. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao's letter to be sent out, a letter from Tufan arrived. Wang Wan opened the letter. It's a letter from Princess Jincheng. Looks like Zuzan Chide has no other choice and wants to play the family card. Does he think that our hearts are so soft? If the family card is useful, Tufan won't come and attack Great Tang for no reason. Let me see. Princess Jincheng's handwriting is really not bad. How many apricot trees are there outside the capital? Swallows leave and return like snow. Butterflies come and dance like yesterday. The clouds disperse, the stars pass by. The cowherd and the weaving girl fall into the two rivers. The sun sets in the west, the moon on the left. She still has the mood to write poems for fun. Zhang Xiaobao took the letter and read it. He felt that it was very interesting. What poem? He's homesick. Wang Wan took the letter back and read it twice. Chapter 8:10. Under Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's contemptuous gazes towards the politics, economy, and military of other countries, a letter for Princess Jincheng to return to the Great Tang was delivered to Zhu Zan of Child. Furthermore, the letter deliberately emphasized the problem of the supply of many people and the lack of livestock. After Zhu Zan saw the letter, he drank a lot of tea and felt like he was dreaming. The letter was not written by either Zhang Xiaobao or Wang Wan, nor was it written by an important minister of the Tang dynasty. It had nothing to do with Li Longji. "Nu, someone wrote you a letter asking you to go back. Take a look." Zhu Zan drank a pot of tea and found that his stomach could not hold it anymore. He ordered someone to find Princess Jincheng and handed the letter to her. Seeing the ugly words on the letter, Princess Jincheng was stunned at first, and then she did not care about Zhu Zan and praised him. "Aunt Princess Jincheng, I heard that there are many strange things in Tibet, but I haven't seen them yet. I want to go but I can't go. Or it is autumn. Aunt Princess has lived in Tibet for 9 years, so I know about it." Xiaoyuan said, "I am not ashamed to ask, so I ask Aunt Princess to come to the north to lie down, enjoy the boundless snow, and talk about prosperity. In the north there is peeling, and there is grass in Ula La's family. Aunt Princess, come and build a snowman. I have prepared carrots, brooms, basins, and countless coal. You must come, otherwise, will the snowman be so scared?" Gudan. Zhang Xiaobei, 1/9 of the imperial scholar. Present. After Princess Jincheng finished reading the misspelled letter, she was confused. What was this mess? And that official, the imperial censor, is a 5th-rank official. What is 1/9 of the imperial censor? Who is Zhang Xiaobei? Only these 3 words are better written. It should be a general practice. Princess Jincheng, who was confused after reading the letter, looked at Zhu Zan. "Zanpu, where did this letter come from? Does someone dare to make fun of me?" "It's not making fun of you, it's making fun of me." Zhang Xiaobei, Zhang Xiaobao's younger sister, 5 years old this year. "I invite you to Jili province to make a snowman. Tell stories about my tubo. Look at the days. If you don't leave now, you will miss the first snow." Ancestor Chida's face was gloomy. This was the first time he had heard that a married princess could go back. This was too much of a bully. It was not Li Longji who summoned her back, nor was it an official letter. It was actually a little brat who wrote the letter. This was looking down on him. Zhu Zanqi really wanted to slap Princess Jincheng a few times. This was all because of her, but he didn't dare to do so. Now that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were pressuring him with their troops, even the slightest provocation would affect his entire body. Only then did Princess Jincheng know who Zhang Xiaobei was. So it was like this. It seemed that her letter had worked. If she didn't use the official language, others couldn't use the official language to speak. And not bad, the handwriting was really good. Even if there were a few wrong places, it could be forgiven. "Zanpu, what should I do?" Princess Jincheng was both expectant and worried. She wanted to go back to the Tang Empire to have a look, but she was afraid that Zhu Zan would not agree. Yes, what should I do? What should I do? Zhu Zan did not have a good idea. He did not want to agree, but he was worried that Wang Wan would find an excuse. Her younger sister asked someone to make a snowman and tell a story. Do you want to put a child's behavior into politics? This excuse should be enough for Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. When the time came, the 40,000 soldiers would move and stop the food exchange, and they would be able to bully them all the way home. No, they had already bullied them all the way. Princess Jincheng was very clear that her current status was all because of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. She did not expect that a 5-year-old child would be a 5th-rank official. Even if it was a 3rd-rank official, it was still a 5th-rank official. It seemed that the emperor was really good to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Many officials could not enter the 5th rank in their lifetime, but a child could enter the 5th rank. A 5th-rank official could enter the imperial court. Zan Pu, what kind of official is the 9th-rank official of the imperial censor? Princess Jincheng suppressed the excitement in her heart and changed the topic. She did not want to force Zhu Zan to express his opinion. Zhu Zan also knew that Princess Jincheng did not know enough about the Tang Empire. To be precise, she did not know enough about the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. He sighed and explained, the so-called 9th-rank official of the imperial censor is actually more powerful than the 3rd-rank official. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan now have 9 younger brothers and sisters. It is useless to take one out, but as long as the 9 of them work together, they can impeach any official in the Tang Empire. They have already taken care of an official. Many great Tang officials avoid them because they are still children and don't use the compromises and concessions of the bureaucracy. It is precisely because of this that the great Tang emperor believes that they have no selfish motives when they impeach him. Being targeted by them is even more unlucky than being targeted by the censorate. Ah! Princess Jincheng covered her mouth with a look of disbelief. A 5th-rank official was already scary enough. She did not expect that he also had real power. How is this power given to the 9 children? It is clearly a sword given to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wrong, this is the power given to the 9 children. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan do not need to use impeachment means. If they want to do something to someone, they will do it directly. I heard that the 9 children are different from others. They are smart and clever. Nu, do you want to go back? Zhu Zanpu knew very well about the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. He had to know. His place was occupied by others. Although it felt that the Tang Empire was a little chaotic with the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, it was the truth. Princess Jincheng wanted to nod. He said that she was going to Jili province. Could it be that she was not allowed to go back and take a look when she passed by the capital? Good method. She did not write a letter in vain. Thinking like this, Princess Jincheng did not dare to say. She lowered her head and said to Zhu Zanpu, if Zanpu wants me to go back, I will go back. If Zanpu does not want me to go, I will not go. When Zhu Zanpu heard this, he knew that Princess Jincheng wanted to go back. He was angry. Just as he was about to think of a way to stop her from going back, someone came in from outside. This time it was a sword and a big envelope. What is the meaning of this? Why did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan send a sword? Is it going to war? Zhu Zanpu forgot to stop Princess Jincheng from going back to the Tang Empire in an instant. His eyes were filled with horror. He carefully picked up the sword and looked at it. It was a very ordinary sword. It had not been sharpened yet. Putting down the sword, he picked up the big envelope and looked at it with Princess Jincheng. First, a letter fell out. The other things were papers with numbers written on them. The papers were very beautiful and there were complicated patterns on them. Great Tang Bank, worth 1 million coins, Li Longji. Princess Jincheng read the words on the paper and asked puzzledly, what does it mean? It means that this piece of paper is worth 1,000 strings of coins. 1,000 strings of coins. 1 million is 1,000 strings of coins. They want to use this kind of money to pay the bill. How are they going to spend it after they get it? Zhu Zanpu was depressed again. Flying money. Princess Jincheng asked again. Zhu Zanpu nodded and then shook his head twice. It is better than flying money. Flying money can only be used in a certain area. This money can be used in the Tang Empire. Look, this is to prevent others from counterfeiting. At least in the Tubo Empire, it cannot be counterfeited. Zhu Zanpu introduced the paper and pointed out in detail to Princess Jincheng. However, his heart was cold. No matter what, he was the ruler of a country. He would not just look at the surface of things. To be able to create such money, it meant that the technology of the Tang Empire had improved. To dare to let people use paper money, it meant that the foundation of the Tang Empire was very solid. This paper money is sharper than the sword. Zhu Zanpu added and picked up the letter to read. Princess Jincheng read it together. After reading it, she not only wanted to cover her mouth, she also wanted to cover her eyes. It would be best if she could wrap herself tighter with the quilt. The words in the letter were too arrogant. West meets Brahma, north is full of grass. Yazhou hangs, Peng Lai is full of immortals. For barbarians come to court, 8 sides share joy. I invite you to visit Mount Hua to discuss the sword. Zanpu, I want you to go to the capital. It seems that you are not the only one invited. Are you going? Princess Jincheng was even happier. If Zanpu was going, he would have to bring her along. Mount Hua was in Huayin County, Huazhou, next to the capital. But she did not know what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan meant. Inviting people from all over the country. Did they want to catch them all in one go? Zhu Zanpu was also frightened, especially the words at the end of the sentence. It was actually not Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan using their own names, but Li Longji's name. Regardless of whether Li Longji gave the two of them this authority, if the two of them dared to use it, they would naturally discuss it with Li Longji. Moreover, Li Longji seemed to value the two of them very much. To go or not to go, this was the problem. In the past, who would foolishly go to Tang Dynasty's capital and be afraid that they would not become a hostage? But now, it was not about whether they would become hostages or not, but the consequences of not going. This excuse to start a war was more sufficient than the previous one. What did Mount Hua mean? Was it a provocation or a threat? Zhu Zanpu thought about many things. In the end, he felt that it was better to go than not going. If he went, Tubo would still be Tubo. Li Longji would not think that he could swallow Tubo by killing him. If he did not go, Tubo might not be Tubo. Devilish Cuckoo seemed to have been silent for a long time. More importantly, if others went and he did not go, who knew what they were talking about? When the time came, they would all join forces and attack Tubo together. With Tubo's current strength, they would not be able to deal with it. Wait for me to write a letter and ask clearly. If I go Nu, you can accompany Xiao Bei to build a snowman. Zhu Zanpu said what Princess Jincheng wanted to hear the most. Chapter 8:11. The Tuboan Turks wrote letters to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, asking about the details of the sword meet on Mount Hua. Both sides were clear that the so-called sword competition was definitely not about whose sword was better, and it was not just about words. They reckoned that they might encounter a full-on martial arts competition when they arrived at their destination, so they needed to prepare in advance to avoid losing face when the time came. If they did not do so, they would not only lose face, but also the face of the country. Zizhen Chide had already decided to personally enter Tang. He had thought it through. Wasn't it just to see Li Longji? Could it be that Zhang Xiaobao really dared to leave him behind? In any case, Tufan had already been tormented to such a state by that bastard Zhang Xiaobao. If he went to the Great Tang to take a look, everyone would say that the Great Tang was extraordinary. At the same time, he could also make Princess Jincheng return home. If he could compete with Tang in the sword meet, Li Longji would probably compromise on the Tubo issue. As he pondered, Zizhen Chide began to try to interact more with Zhang Xiaobao. Only by understanding the enemy could he have a chance to defeat the enemy. Zhang Xiaobao was not in a hurry. He watched as Wang Wan tormented the 40,000 soldiers, stood in formation and planted trees. The soldiers were gradually getting used to these things. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Chong acted as if they had something to say about the letters from the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate. They didn't mention the specifics, but instead emphasized the benefits that the people from both sides could enjoy after arriving at the Great Tang. They were simply avoiding the topic. The two were most concerned about whether the paper money could be accepted. The news from the country had already spread, and the circulation of the suppressed iron and copper coins among the common people was greatly hindered. Now that there was more food in the country, the living standards of the common people had increased. The purchasing power of one copper coin was very large, and the coins made of iron and copper became the small type. Not only was the amount small, but the size was also small. 10 of the new coins were equivalent to the value of a standard Kaiyuan Tongbao. It was a very good move, but the common people did not appreciate it and were not enthusiastic. Sometimes they used copper coins and sometimes they directly bartered. No one was willing to take the initiative to go to the bank to exchange. Looks like we have to start from the merchants. After receiving this news, Zhang Xiaobao started to worry. It's not easy to change a habit of spending. Businessmen are good and flexible. You made a mistake, didn't you? I knew you would make mistakes. Most of the banknotes issued now are circulated between merchants. The amount is too large. Who would carry a 10-coin banknote on them for no reason? What if they lose it? Do you think 10 coins is a small amount? Wang Wan was standing by the side, not helping to come up with ideas. She even angered Zhang Xiaobao. Alright, don't use such a strategy on me. Even if you don't provoke me, I will think of something. Isn't it just a matter of consumption philosophy? Simple. I'm prepared to transition naturally. Do you understand? Write a letter back and issue an order to all the schools that we have opened in various places. In the future, we will not directly give the students things in the schools. Instead, we will give them money. When it comes to food, we will spend their own money to buy it. When it comes to rewards, we will not give them books. We will let them buy their own paper. However, they have to buy it in our stores. It's too expensive to buy it elsewhere. Let them get used to using new money. Give them the kind of money that is worth 1 copper coin for 10 coins. When the time comes, they will tell their families. In this era, the uncultured value the cultured very much. Sometimes, the words of literate children are more effective than the words of adults. Let's use children's diplomacy. Zhang Xiaobao did not need to spend too much time thinking and came up with a solution. This strategy was used by many people. For example, if a new place was developed and no one went there, what would they do? If they moved a key school there, it would not take long before the surrounding houses would be sold. Wang Wan pondered for a moment and felt that something was wrong. After blinking a few times, she finally understood. If you directly give money to the children, have you thought about the consequences? Usually, food is provided for free. It's a waste if the children don't eat it. It's the same for clothes. But once you let the children buy their own things, the consequences will be. Among the children, some of them are filial. They don't want to eat good food and just casually buy things to fill their stomachs. They save money to buy things that can be used at home, right? Without waiting for Wang Wan to finish, Zhang Xiaobao added. Yes, if you know, why do you still do that? Let's see what you can do when the children lack nutrition. Wang Wan was very dissatisfied. Zhang Xiaobao chuckled. You only think about the children being filial. Why don't you think about how the adults have deeper feelings for the children? Many adults can do anything for their children to have a good life. I'm waiting for the children to do that. When the time comes for the parent-teacher meeting, they will tell the parents that their children are starving to death. What do you think will happen? What will happen? Zhang Xiaobao, you are too insidious. Wang Wan immediately understood the meaning. The result will be that the children's parents, in order to let the children eat well in school, find out that the children don't have enough money, and take the initiative to exchange money. You are using the weakness of people to do things. It's too immoral. When the time comes, we will compensate. This is the function of the government. A normal and qualified official doesn't have to have a creative mind. He only needs to guide, coordinate, and supervise well. But many officials can't even do this and fail. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about Wang Wan's responsibilities. Of course, he hoped that all the officials could be like him and find the resources in every place and use them creatively. No wonder so many civil servants want to learn political economy. These days, Tubo and Turkic didn't sell a lot of livestock. They seem to be worried that the currency will depreciate. Although we know that the currency must depreciate. Seeing that this problem was solved, Wang Wan changed the topic and talked about the recent trade. Zhang Xiaobao exclaimed, indicating that he understood. He continued, "From tomorrow onwards, stop the trade of food with Tubo. Ship the food over and bring in more weapons from Great Tang. Tell the Tubo and Tujue that they have to use currency to purchase. They will definitely work hard to collect foreign currency. If you don't believe me, let's take a look." Actually, Wang Wan knew that it was feasible even without looking. As expected, after Zuzhenchide found that the trade of food with Great Tang was affected, and after seeing a few technologies and a large number of weapons that were good for Tubo, he happily accepted the new concept of currency. A large number of local specialties were sold at a lower price than the original trade. After exchanging for currency, he went to buy the technologies first, even though he knew that the technologies were outdated for Great Tang. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.